The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Remember this, when you're the greatest fighter in the world today, they got a name for you. They don't call you a great fighter, they call you Chael Sonnen and beat me, if you can.
And after tonight, none of you in this ring will ever again!
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kid stealing, woo, wheeling dealing, limousine right, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
And I have my cold beer. You have your cold beer? If not, you are fucking jabroni.
Wash it down with 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Welcome to the second episode of the FRB Show. I am, of course, Front Row Brian, internet legend, talked about on SportsCenter, the worldwide leader in sports. And I was well ahead of the curve with this CM Punk news. I told you 2 weeks ago CM Punk was coming to the UFC, and they said, FRB, are you crazy? And I said, yeah, I am a little crazy, but I'm always right. So we have a great show, some really great guests, like Malki Kawa, the manager for Jon Jones, the best fighter that has ever walked in an MMA ring or cage or whatever fighting surface we're talking about. So Malki lends his insight into the inner business workings of the UFC. We talk a little bit about his prized client, of course. Then we also have the best damn welterweight in the world, Ben Askren, and he tells us about all kinds of stuff, but mostly the bald fat guy, Dana White, and also Justin McCully, aka American Fedor. He wants to fight with Tito Ortiz, and he makes his case, and it's a pretty convincing case. So thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for listening last week to that marathon of a show that I really should have caught up. But this is a new gig for FRB, so I'm learning and just trying to piece it all together as I go. But I guarantee you, it's always going to be entertaining. When I'm running the show, it's entertainment. That's what I do. So please excuse some of my inexperience with this, and just bear with me, and I guarantee I'll make it worth your time. So with that, enjoy the show. And this next guest is sort of a controversial figure in the business, but he does manage the greatest fighter in the world today, Jon Jones. His name is Malki Kawa. What's going on, Malki?
No, nothing, buddy. When you make these introductions, please make them correct. I don't manage the greatest fighter of our era today, the greatest fighter of all time.
Of all time?
Better than anybody you've ever seen. So just make sure when you introduce me and introduce him, you just do it correctly from now on.
Now, I thought you were going to say, Brian, introduce me as the advocate for the reigning, defending UFC light heavyweight champion. But you're still not stealing Heyman's gimmick, or what?
Heyman took that gimmick from me a long time ago, and he has a better platform as the WWE.
Right. So, Malki, for some of the people, I mean, because I
passed, and therefore I can't take it with it.
Yeah. For some of the people, I kind of know your background a little bit, but tell everybody about how first round management and how you got into this game.
Oh man. You know what? I started in football first a while ago, back in 2005. And I had a real estate company at the time, a mortgage company, where we did real estate and titles and mortgage. And dude, we had a couple different offices across the state of Florida and a bunch of brokers that worked for me, and we did very, very well. And like most people know, Seven, that were in real estate or that had their money in real estate, when the markets came crashing down and when everything came crashing down, it was kind of tough to stay in it. But while I had that and had that business going, I decided to get into sports because I got asked to get into it by certain football players. And I started in football, and when 07 came around, everything just started kind of coming apart. Me and my kid's mom broke up. The markets came crashing down, so the business went away. And my dad got diagnosed with stomach cancer towards the end of 07. So to kind of relieve stress and to, just to work out and try to, stay in shape and all that type of stuff, I ended up going to an American top team gym where Conan Silvero was coaching at. But it wasn't Coconut Creek where all the other guys were at. It was like a satellite gym. And I ran into Conan, who was actually my coach. He trained me in jiu-jitsu way back like in 1998, 99. And anyway, like, I'd only done it for a couple months. I've never really done jiu-jitsu for longer than a few months at a time. And I seen him, and we reconnected. It was kind of weird because I remembered him, and he barely remembered me, but he did. And he was like, "So, what do you do now?" And I told him that I was a sports agent. And he's like, "Hey, I have this kid I want you to meet. He's a great fighter, and he's someone that you should talk to and help out because he needs it." And I had no clue really about the sport. I knew about Chuck and Randy and Tito pretty much. I watched the very first few UFCs, and then after that, I really kind of just concentrated on football. And from there, I went up to Coconut Creek with Conan, and he introduced me to a kid by the name of Thiago Alves. And Thiago Alves happened to become my very first client. And from there, we just slowly built first-round management into an MMA powerhouse. And by doing that, I also kind of, got away from football. I needed to concentrate on one, and I chose MMA. And, looking back now, it's probably the best decision I made. But coincidentally, now this year I got relicensed in football, and I'm going back into the NFL as well.
Interesting. So are you going to have clients for the upcoming NFL draft?
I hope so. That's what the plan is.
Oh, yeah, because it's too early to have them officially. They're probably
correct. You got to reach them, and you're right. You have to sign. I can't sign anybody until after they're done playing. So
tell us a little bit, because I know you have a very unique relationship with Jon Jones, which is it's a little bit rare to see, and it's refreshing because I've seen some other big stars. They have blow-ups with their manager. They go to William Morris Endeavor, and then they never talk to the guy that brought them to the dance, so to speak. And you seem to have this brother-like relationship with Jon Jones. So take us back a little bit. How did you get into the Jon Jones business, and what's the relationship like with Jon?
Well, Jon Jones, I first watched him fight UFC 100. I watched him fight live. And I thought to myself, what is the matchup? This kid had Stephan Bonner. He fought Stephan Bonner. And I looked and I thought to myself that this was, a little bit of a fast, it was too fast, I think, at the time to give him Stephan Bonner as an opponent. In my mind at that time. I didn't know who Jon Jones was. This was his second fight in the UFC. His first fight was nice, but it wasn't like, it wasn't this like outstanding Jon Jones yet. His skills were not yet honed or fine-tuned, you know what I mean? But I knew that he was kind of like the future. You look at his size, you look at his weight, you look at his speed, his strength, and you look at also like where he was at the time, like who he was training with, and you say to yourself, man, what would this guy do if he was with a Greg Jackson or an American Top Team at the time, or one of these other big, like an AKA, or one of these other, academies that have had like world champs and trade these type of guys. What would we have with this guy? I mean, physically, he was just above everything I'd ever seen in the sport. And then it just coincidentally, dude, he was at an appearance that I had scheduled for Thiago Alves, and him and Thiago started talking, and he gave Thiago his number, and he took my number from Thiago, and he called me, and he asked me to start listening into representing him, because of the fact that, he liked the way I had taken care of Thiago. Thiago had nothing but good things to say. And I, obviously went and then signed him. And yeah, our relationship is very good, and it's one that's been built over the course of time. I mean, there's things I've done for Jon that I don't think anyone else has. I don't think any managers has the relationship or the ability to do the things that I've done for John that they would have done for other guys. Let me not say the ability, but you know what I mean? Like, I think I've just done things for him throughout the course of time that a lot of agents I don't think would have done. I hear stories about how some other guys, work with their guys, and I think I'm a little bit more hands-on, and my relationship with him is just different. It just is. You know, he requires more. He's the biggest star in the sport, and it just requires more. So I think at the end of the day, it's like it's one of those things where.
So what do you think about these guys?
Will come through. I get a lot of stuff done. There's a lot of things going on.
Sure. So what do you think about some of these guys that will go and sign with William Morris and Endeavor? And I mean, John has a similar agency. Is it William Morris or Creative or CAA?
No, it's William Morris. But I mean, tell me who you're referencing, though. It's like, let me know what you mean by when you say these guys. Who are these guys?
Well, like Weidman has somebody with William Morris. Ronda Rousey has Brad Slater at William Morris. And I don't know who's doing her fight contracts.
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing. So William Morris doesn't do the fight contract because they represent the UFC, so it's a conflict of interest. So technically they're not supposed to do the contract. You know, I know Weidman has a manager. I know Weidman does his marketing and his TV stuff through William Morris. I know that's how we have it set up with John as well. We work together. Like me and William Morris work together. Me, Brad Slater, we work together on his movie stuff. Brad gets all the movie things together, and then obviously me and John go through them. And then, you know, the whole marketing team there, me and them are in constant contact almost daily on different opportunities and different things. I mean, I work really well with William Morris. I enjoy them a lot. Call them anytime I need something. They're pretty much able to open doors for me that maybe I wouldn't be able to do by myself, or, you know, a shortcut to get to where I got to get to without having to do it all by myself. That's the beauty of William Morris. And that's why, you know, it worked out. But I think that guys will quickly find that William Morris is a mega agency with thousands and thousands of clients. And it's not something where you can just be like, okay, I'm going to go get signed by William Morris. It doesn't work that way. And, you know, they're not just sitting there looking at deals for John and Ronda. It's The Rock and Denzel Washington and this guy and that guy and all these different people. So having me around, you know, obviously what I did is, you know, I get with John and we go through what he wants, what he's looking for, what he needs. And, you know, the way I look at it is just, we just have to get to a certain point. You know, it's like it's like if you get in a car, it's like you're carpooling, right? You're trying to get from one part of the country to the other. Doesn't matter how you get there. Doesn't matter who actually ends up driving it or who gets it there. As long as you get there, that's my point. And that's where William Morris has been awesome with, because whether they get the deal or I get the deal, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? We work together on a lot of different things, and you know what I mean? I head up all of John's stuff. I get all, you know, the majority of his deals. And William Morris has been phenomenal in aiding me in that. And there's some deals that they get on their own. And it's just an awesome relationship. So, but, you know, you go look at the creative artist situation. It should be the same way. But I think they try to take everything from the fighter. They want the fight contract, and they want this and they want that. So, you know, the issue here is that people don't understand how to work the UFC and the politics in the UFC and how it actually works. So where these agencies are used to dealing with a unionized sport, you know, they come to ours and it's completely different, and they end up failing because of it. And, you know, all these guys think they have these connections that, oh, you know, he's a great fighter, we're going to get him a sponsorship. And then they quickly find out that those relationships they had at whatever company are willing to do deals in basketball or football or baseball or hockey or NASCAR because it's all accepted. And fighting is still one of those sports where there needs to be a lot more teaching and explaining. It's not accepted yet as much as the other ones. And therefore, a lot of those guys in these big firms realize really quickly that unless they're John Jones or Ronda Rousey, there isn't going to be a deal for anyone else. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, everybody's very misinformed about the sport. The athletes, I think, sometimes are misinformed about the sport. A lot of the agents out there misinformed about the sport. And it's just one of those things where there still needs to be a lot more education across the board for everyone.
Sure. It makes a lot of sense. You talk about guys with connections, and you know, maybe CAA or William Morris can't get it done, which is amazing to me. But there was a video clip on, I don't know if it was on UFC.com, and it was there was a gentleman by the name of Wayne Harriman, and it said John Jones's manager, and it was kind of confusing to people because they were like, well, what happened to Malki? but of course you are his manager. But could you explain the relationship with Wayne Harriman and how he helps facilitate some of the deals for first round management?
Well, listen, here's the thing. I mean, the reality of it is it's like this, right? If my brother is the guy that deals well with Nike, then my brother will go and deal with Nike. If I'm the one that deals with, Beats by Dr. Dre, then I'll go deal with Beats by Dr. Dre. If Wayne Harriman deals well with Dana Lorenzo, then he will. I mean, I have in my company, there's about 10 or 15 people that work for me. So the reality of it is that when everybody was like, oh, what happened to Malki? Again, I don't have to be the guy that's always in the forefront. But if you go back and review and you look at the second embedded film video, if you remember, the first one, supposedly we're doing this deal with John Jones' manager and Wayne showed up. And then, that was it. The second time around, if you remember, I was there and so was John. And we walked in there and then we came out and the deal was finally done. Everything was all good to go. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't care for when I first started, everything was about being on Twitter and being hyped up and in everyone's face and whole nine and all that. And at this point now, I don't do that anymore. So I don't care. So the whole world was like, oh, Wayne Harriman, this and that and the other. At the end of the day, every single deal, everything that happens when it comes to John Jones, you know what I mean? I pretty much am the one that sets it up. Numbers wise, deal wise, going after it wise, timing wise, all that stuff. There isn't really much that I'm not involved in or not getting done. Now, who might be the guy that goes in and spearheads it, whether it's with a sponsor, whether it's a UFC, whether it's a legal matter, whatever it might be, it depends on who might have that relationship. And it doesn't always mean it's me. Sometimes I'll send Brad Slater to handle certain things. I honestly don't have contacts in Hollywood the way he does. You know what I mean? I utilize my team around me to make everything work out for all my clients, not just John. So it doesn't really matter. But that's what it is. Me and Wayne work together. Same way, I've got an attorney out in Vegas that works with us as well. You know what I mean? I have an attorney in Miami that works with us. I've got 3 guys in New York City that work for me. I've got guys that work in other states for me. So in other words, it doesn't really matter. Do you understand where I'm coming from? It doesn't really matter, and I don't really care what people think or say, but Wayne's a part of this team, and when I need Wayne to get certain things done, Wayne gets certain things done.
Yeah, and I have noticed a difference in you. I guess we might have met 3 or 4 years ago, and it was kind of like you wanted to be Drew Rosenhaus. You wanted to be the guy in the forefront, and I've noticed in the past few years you've kind of not gone underground. I mean, but a little bit different person.
I'm just me, and the reality of it is that when you're building a business, you have to get out there and people need to know who you are, and I think that they do now. So I don't need to try to be in the forefront of every interview, every meeting, every opportunity. And I never really tried to do that before. I think a lot of things have died down. People are not as interested in asking me to do stuff like this podcast or whatever. You know what I mean? Because I shun a lot of it away. The truth is, honestly, FRB, I don't have time for a lot of it. You know what I mean? I'm in meetings most of the day. I've got a 9-year-old daughter who, when I'm not working, I'm trying to hang out with her or my family. You know what I mean? So I don't have the time to sit here, to do the work I do for these guys and then turn around and also try to build this NFL business and then to turn around and be giving an interview every time somebody turns around and asks me for one about something that happened in MMA that has nothing to do with me. You follow me? I mean, I get asked for stuff like, how do you feel about this decision that happened to this fighter? I don't even rep the fighter. Don't you think the judge should be changed? It's like, dude, I don't know. I have time for this. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and for the people,
so it's that's the truth behind it. I just don't care like that anymore to try to get out there. People know that that if I've got something to say, I'm going to say it.
Sure. Yeah, and the only reason I bring up Wayne Harriman is the guy has such an interesting background. 1997, Chuck Liddell, Tito were basically living on his couch, and he tells Tito Ortiz, a very young Tito Ortiz, "Hey, I got this guy for you, and I want him to be your manager." And that guy's name happened to be Dana White, and that you talk about the relationships. So Wayne has this relationship with Dana and the Fertittas that I don't think anybody could possibly replicate, because if he doesn't tell a very young Tito, "Hey, I got this guy for you, Dana White," Dana White never gets this opportunity with the UFC.
You might be right. I mean, but see, again, where a lot of people sit there and try to bash me for doing business with him and stuff like that, I just tend to think I'm the smartest manager out there out of all these guys because no one else saw what I saw. I mean, everybody else runs away from it, and that goes for every manager. I don't care who they are. They all know. They all met him before me. They all knew him before me. I was the only one that went out there and said, "Hey, you're the guy that did this, and you're the guy responsible for that, and you're the guy that knew this guy that did this and this deal, and you're the responsible." I said, "You know what? What would it take for you to come work with me? Like, you know, how can I have you on my side?" And me and him have a good relationship as well. And we've been together ever since then. Just we work on certain stuff. He's not a guy that's involved in my operations every single day. He doesn't deal with my fighters at all. It's really just me and him, and it's when something comes up when we need it, and that's really what it is. And he's a phenomenal guy. And you're right. I mean, it's one of those relationships that goes way back, and you know. Yeah,
he sounds like a very interesting.
Something that I thought.
Yeah, he sounds like
Hello?
a great. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you keep coming in. Yeah, you keep coming in and out, dude. Listen, you need to get your producer. You need to tell him to get you better equipment because it's unbelievable that you're on a landline and it sounds this horrible.
No, it's actually Skype, Malki.
Whatever the hell you're doing, dude, but you need to get it right. You and your producer on this Mickey Mouse show of yours, get it right because guys, we don't have time to keep saying hello, hello. Are you there? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Well,
which, by the way, let me also just make sure I correct something because I listened to your podcast from last week. Number one, I smacked the shit out of Bloodstained Lane in front of everybody in the lobby 3 different times.
I do.
Okay? You know that, and I know that. The fact that you walked in there, I didn't know who you were, you're right, and you got bottled up by one of my guys. Remember, there was like 20 guys there.
Yeah,
you ended up getting bottled up as well.
Another
juice. You don't talk about that. Hold on, you don't want to talk about that part. You got bottled up, and Bloodstained Lane got bottled up. Not only that, do you forget that I also threw a punch down the pipe when we decided to go Muay Thai and he decided to quit? Oh, my stomach hurts, I'm about to throw up. Listen, I didn't lose anything in that. I beat him the whole time. You were going to get beaten up too, but you decided to go with my guys and you got bottled up fast. It was bad. You know what I mean? But you and him both left there upset. Both of you decided to tag team me after that for like almost a year until you guys finally decided to stop because I just ran into you guys everywhere. And after a while, enough was enough.
You want to tell that
bring up the whole Frank Mir and
you want to tell that story? The UFC in Houston, you walk up to me with John Jones.
No, I don't walk
left,
up.
Frank
No, I don't walk up. Hold on. I don't walk up to you. If you remember correctly, you're walking up the stairs. You got 2 beers in your hand because we know the FRB likes to have a cold beer. And I'm walking down the stairs with John and Frank. Now, mind you, these are guys that you and Bloodstained Lane at the time have talked about, tweeted about the day that it was going to just go down. And you put both beers down. You looked up, and you were scared. And I said, bro, relax. Nothing's going to happen to you. Do you not remember?
No, I remember, but I put the beers down because I was like, what was I going to do? Run?
You couldn't. You were screwed. But I held them both back. I told them both to relax. They both kind of patted you on the ass, told you to get on your way. And that was the end of that story, bro. They just, one patted you on the head, if I remember correctly. The other one patted you on the ass and said, keep moving. Don't talk shit about me anymore. And I don't think you did after that. That was it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going to see, here's the thing about you.
I'll actually show up.
If you're going to sit there and be one of these insiders, if you're going to be an insider, you have to tell the truth. You can't just make shit up.
I didn't make shit up.
Dude, you made shit up. That whole last week's podcast, I mean, it was, come on. You make shit up. The bottom line is this is I got to give it.
When you and Bloodstained Lane, let me just get this in. When you and Bloodstained Lane, the first match you went at, which you only agreed to one match, that was, and he reared.
Do you even remember what happened?
Well, you didn't.
It was like very sad. I remember correctly. We were going at it, and I was messing around with him the whole time. I was playing with him, and he catches me in something, and I'm like, all right, time out. Let's go for real. And we went for real. He couldn't do anything. That's the third time around. We were both exhausted, but I beat him the third time around, too, because I controlled him the whole time. I got him in, 3 different submissions that I slipped out because we were sweaty. You don't remember? I mean, I was beating him up left and right.
Not the first match.
Now I'm thinking the first match was like 10 seconds. Do you remember? It was quick, and it was like, dude, what is this?
Because he choked you out.
He didn't choke me out. That's a lie, bro. That's a lie.
Come on.
That's a lie, dude.
That's why you wanted the rematch. It was only supposed to be one.
It wasn't a rematch. We were playing around. I said, let's do it for real. Let's go for real.
No, but that was when John won the championship. That was a fun time. But yeah, that's ancient history, but it's still a good story. But the reason why I wanted to.
No, dude, it's no good story. I have the video, by the way. I have the video.
All right.
I have the video. The funny thing is I have the video. And Bloodstained asked my guys to please not put it out there because Casper has it. And I asked for the video once, and then they said, listen, we promised them we wouldn't give it to you because we didn't want you to embarrass the guy. I said, all right, fine, the hell with it. So we have it.
All right. Well, you got the video. All right. You can hold it over his head. But the reason why I wanted you on here, the most high-profile manager in the game, by far, I'll give you that, the Reebok deal. And I want to know what it means, in your expert opinion. What does this mean for the guys? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it just money coming from a different source?
Well, listen, here's the thing. The Reebok, if you remember when I did the John Jones deal with Nike almost two years and change ago, I told everybody, I said, guys, this is the beginning of what's going to soon to start to happen, which is the other guys are going to get in. Under Armour has always done something with George in Canada. It was never a deal in North America. Anderson had something in Brazil. I think Sexyama had something in Japan or Uno. Kel Uno, I think. Was it Kel Uno? I don't remember who was. Had something with Reebok, I think, out in Japan or
Nike.
Or Korea. One of them, right? So they had something out there. But no one had ever done anything globally and in North America. So when Nike finally pulled the trigger on John, this was the first time that any of these companies had done an young American athlete, champion on top of it all, the number one pound-for-pound guy in the sport, the way Nike did. And I said to everyone that, I don't remember if it was on Damon Martin's show or on your buddy Ariel Helwani's show or what, but I said to everyone that with this Nike deal, watch Adidas, watch Water. I guarantee you that they're going to end up coming in now, and you're going to see more and more fighters get these deals. Because a lot of this stuff just happens to be watch one guy do it, and then the rest kind of just start to do it. And sure enough, Nike went and signed Dos Santos. If you remember that, and then they went to sign Dos Santos. Then all of a sudden, pops up Reebok with Johnny Hendricks, and then if you're right, I'm sorry, Johnny Hendricks, I think, and then Anthony Pettis. Around that time, I think Johnny was the very first guy. They signed a deal with Reebok. And everything I was saying was happening. I just know how all this stuff works. And in those same interviews, I said that because somebody asked me, can we ever see the swoosh take the cage? And I said, you know what? Give it a couple years. Within the next 5 years, I can bet you that if it's not Nike, one of those companies is going to be in MMA and is going to be in MMA heavy. And it just made a lot of sense. Now, a lot of people were like, well, why would a shoe company care about MMA? Well, if you really look at a lot of these companies, some of their biggest business is compression. And when you look at our sport, what's our biggest use? What's our biggest equipment outside of the gloves and all that? It's compression. So and then also on top of it, running is big for every one of these companies. Under Armour, Adidas, Nike, Reebok, it's all running. Every one of them, some of their biggest businesses is running. So if you're not Nike, outside of Nike, right, everybody else's businesses is training. So Nike's biggest business is obviously basketball and training. So I knew that when they said to me, we're going to put John in the training aspect, because that's the category he fell under, because they didn't create a combat sports division for it. I said, okay, well, this is what's going to happen. And people would ask me, these guys who interviewed me were asking me, can we ever see them in the octagon? I said, it's just a matter of time before it happens. This deal is going to trigger that, because somebody's going to see it and say, well, wait a minute, if Nike has them, how do we get in there, block Nike? And that's how those big corporations work. It was just a matter of time. And then one day I see a tweet from Dana saying that the current chief marketing officer is debating some stuff about that. And then there was these rumors about Under Armour and Nike and this and that. I think that there was a negotiation between all the companies, and Reebok ended up getting it. So this is something that I've always known. Now, when you look at John and you look at John's sponsorship, you notice that every single company he has is outside the octagon except for EA Sports, which is a UFC affiliate. So I've been preparing and prepping for this for a long time. When it came to John. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what does this mean, sponsor-wise, this, that, the other? Well, when you look at the NFL, you look at basketball, you look at baseball, and this is something that I told people back when this deal happened. I said to them, stop thinking that just because Nike sponsors the NFL, every guy has a Nike deal. Every guy doesn't have a Nike deal. Every guy has to wear Nike. The league has a deal. People didn't understand me back then. I said the same thing about basketball. I said, no, the thing with basketball is, people don't know, but LeBron, when he was with the Heat, had to wear Adidas. Adidas had the on-court apparel. So an official LeBron jersey isn't made by Nike; it's made by Adidas. At least when he was here with the Heat. But they negotiated, the players did, and the unions did, for the players to be able to wear their own shoes. This allowed for them to have those massive, shoe deals. But again, the only guys who have shoe deals in all of, if you look at the news recently about Kyrie Irving having a deal with Nike. It's Durant, LeBron, and Kyrie Irving, Kobe. That's about it. Nobody else has their own real shoe deal. And the ones who do don't get paid millions and millions of dollars. So there's a lot of this big fantasy like, oh, once Nike came in there, they were going to pay John $50 million a year, and they were going to do all this and that, and that's not how it works. So when now this Reebok deal came through, the interesting thing about it is that every single guy will get paid for wearing Reebok. Whereas in the other sports, it's depending on how much they're getting paid, how much, then they divide it amongst the players, depending on whatever portion the players got. And if you were the star, let's say if you're a LeBron and your jersey sells more than everybody, then you got paid a little bit more than everybody else. So if you were Kevin Durant, then you get, when you hear this, depending on where you're at, you're going to get paid a certain amount no matter what. Or the sponsorships are gone. Now, the only issue, so then, again, people have been asking my opinion on it. I can't give an opinion on the Reebok deal until I see the numbers, until I know what each level is going to get. What's the champion going to get? What's the Carlos Condit going to get? Because I know how much Carlos Condit was making. He was making good money, throughout all his sponsorship. Because, see, people are looking at it like, well, now goes away Dethrone, goes away Hayabusa, goes away Tap Out, whatever. And those guys weren't paying anybody hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Well, I understand that. But when you take away those companies and then take away Training Mask and take away Dynamic Fastener and take away One Law and Muscle Farm and every other company, that's where now you're looking at it being a little different. So if my guy who's on a main card somewhere, first fight of the night of the main card, not ranked in the top 10, but is an exciting fighter, whatever guy you want to pick off from my roster, I give you a personal example. If a guy like Ben Henderson, he's not in the top 5, he's like number 7. He's a former champion, though. So he's going to get paid a certain number being at number 7 compared to if he was in the top 5, compared to if he was the champion. But his deals that I have for him now set up aren't based on all that. You follow where I'm coming from? So he's a guy that makes 6 figures. Does that mean now in 3 fights a year he'll make 6 figures with this Reebok deal? Do you understand where I'm coming from? That's where I got to sit down and look. I have a feeling that it's going to be bad for the guys at the top of the food chain, and it's going to be great for the guys at the very bottom of the food chain. And that's where we have to look at it and then analyze it from there. Is it a perfect system? Probably not. Is it going to be perfect? Who knows? But with these type of things, I know it takes a lot of time, and there's got to be a work in progress. So we'll figure it out as it goes along.
You make a good point. It's something that I've said, and I think I ripped it off somebody. They said the guys at the bottom of the card get paid too much, and the guys at the top of the card don't get paid enough, because those guys making 8-8, 10-10 on the Fight Pass prelims, how many tickets did they sell? How many pay-per-views, or obviously they're not on pay-per-view, but what did they contribute to the success of the show? Did they really? Right,
and then listen, Brian, you bring up a good point, because when people talk to me about, there's got to be unions, there's got to be this, I keep saying to people, well, okay, let's just say that we all agree that there needs to be a unit. What are we going to fight for? Are we fighting for the John Joneses that are supposed to be getting paid maybe a couple $1 million more? Or are we fighting for the guy at the very bottom of the card so he can get paid, more at the bottom of the card? And the reality of it is that when I look at the way it's set up, and when you compare it to boxing, see, people, this is the thing that, they make this comparison of boxing. And they look at what Floyd Mayweather makes, look at what a Pacquiao makes, and Pacquiao's not didn't draw that much in the last card. He made this big amount of money. People don't realize there's only like 3 or 4 guys in all of boxing that are making that type of money, right? 3 or 4 tops, maybe 2 tops, to be honest with you, for a long time. Everybody else at the card is pretty much drowning and suffering. So the UFC kind of gives you more. The minute you make it to the UFC, right, you're making more money than a boxer makes at your level coming in, depending on how many fights you have. Because most boxers, if they got 20, 30 fights and they're winning fights, they're going to go up and pay. They'll be up in the a couple 100,000. Whereas in the UFC, you might not be. But at this point, a guy will pretty much have been promoted, and it's been they're selling. They can sell tickets off the guy, whatever it might be. In the UFC, a guy coming in at 8-8, 10-10 is making more money than your average boxer. Middle of the pack fighter making 25-25, 40-40 is making more than your middle of the pack boxer. Where the difference is the guys who are fighting on the main cards of these events and the guys who are like in co-main events, guys who are champions, former champions. That's where the problem comes in to me, in my mind, for the UFC. Nobody has ever shown me a formula that makes sense. Nobody has ever given me an idea of a way to sit there and to unilaterally give it some sort of deal. One thing I like about this Reebok thing is that if it works out in this tiered system, that might be the model to use on pay stuff. Well, if you're ranked in the so-and-so, then this is what you should be getting paid. And if you're getting, if you're a champion, then you should be getting XYZ piece of the cut and this type of base pay. I mean, it might be a way to work certain things out. We don't know. The way the pay is in the UFC, it's all negotiable. That's the good thing about it. And that's where, I like to keep it. You know what I mean? If you go to like a unionized thing, then there's minimums, but then there's also maximums, and then you're kind of stuck. So whereas here, at least you're looking at the fact that I can go in and negotiate a deal. You know, this XYZ guy stepping in short notice, you need him to do this, that, we can negotiate a payment for that. If a guy is a champion, you know what I mean, comes out of his contract, is a free agent or one fight left on his contract, you can negotiate something, you know, spectacular. I mean, these are the type of things that you know, we should be happy that we have. I just think that there's other things that we can look at, pension plans, you know what I mean, daily health insurance, things of that nature that I would like to see the UFC do. But I will give them credit where it's due. They are the first, you know, combat organization to ever give, you know, health insurance to the guys that get hurt while they're training or in a fight. And for a lot of my fighters, man, that's been a huge help. You know what I mean? So there's other things that I'd like to see get done besides just, you know, complaining about pay. But you make a good point. Guys on the very bottom of the card absolutely add nothing to the card other than this is their opportunity for the UFC to continue to build them and help them get to a certain point. And when they get to that point, they're supposed to be rewarded and paid. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way. But again, you know, I look at it like this. It's the same thing with me. If one of my guys is underpaid, it's my fault. I'm the one who negotiated that contract. And if the UFC got me, they got me. And if one of my guys is overpaid, you know what I mean, and I got the UFC, then I got them. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? Then that's a plus for me. And that's something that people don't understand. This is all a negotiation, and a lot of guys don't get into it. They don't like to. And I understand the UFC is rough and they're tough and all that, but, I mean, it's a business, and you can do whatever you need to do.
Sure. And, you know, another thing that would affect you as a manager, you know, who's managed a lot of champions is the lack of a true free agency for guys under contract to the UFC. There is no free agency. It's not like Albert Pujols a couple years ago. He was able to talk to 29 other teams, and he got $260 million from the Angels. John Jones has got a champions clause, or Ben Henderson had a champions clause, and he can just continue to exercise options or these matching rights. They can never get away. I mean, do you ever see some of those?
Yeah, but listen, I mean, listen, here's the thing. If a guy gets to the end of his contract and is allowed to go out and shop his contract, right, and shop a deal, and let's say Bellator comes back and says, hey, we're going to give you $20 million plus pay-per-view guaranteed on every one of your fights, right? And the UFC has a right to match it. If you go out and you get the best contract out there, possibly out there, you go out and you go to World Series of Fighting and to ONE FC and this and that, and you get the best numbers out there, right? And you come back and say, well, here's the contract that they're giving up to us, right? And they're willing to match it. So who cares? If you follow where I'm coming from, then who really cares? If you're looking just about the money aspect of it, then who cares? Now, if you're one of these guys that's disgruntled and you're unhappy with them and you want to leave, then now you're looking at hoping that they'll cut you or release you because you're not happy with them. You follow where I'm coming from? But as far as like having a real, when they sit there and say, yeah, you're right, we don't have 29 other leagues to go to. Right now you have one, maybe two, depending on who the guy is. You know what I mean? I doubt that. Listen, I'll put it like this. If John Jones became a free agent today, who's he going to go to? I mean, the only option would realistically be Bellator. You know what I mean? They'd probably be the only ones to afford him. If I went to World Series of Fighting, they couldn't afford what he's getting paid right now, no matter what it was. And then you got to understand long-term viability. That's not something that's probably there with those guys. You know what I mean? I don't know that they would be able to afford to pay him just millions and millions of dollars every single time and still put him on two to three times a year. You follow where I'm coming from? So there's a lot of different things that go into it. People are like, oh, there's no this and there's no that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. You just need to have someone willing to offer more and pay a guy more. And you got to be willing to go down that route. You got to also understand, too, Brian, the other problem here is that a lot of fighters don't even look anywhere else. This is the stage they want to be on. Listen, it kind of comes down to, like, in the other sports, when you look at a lot of times when a guy signs with Nike as opposed to an Adidas or a Reebok or a Puma or whoever, right? It's usually because they like the brand. They like the lifestyle end of it. They want to wear Jordans, this, that, and the other. Because if you go sign with Puma, you can't wear it. So they go with Nike for a lot less. Nike knows that they have that brand power within the athletes. So that's why you'll see a lot of guys, you know, have Nike when Nike's the least amount. I'll give you an example. I had a guy once in football who got offered $75,000 from Adidas to wear Adidas cleats. Nike came in and said, I'll give you $30,000 in product. He took the $30,000 in product because he loves to wear Jordans. This is the way it goes. You follow where I'm coming from? So it's the same thing. So UFC comes in and says, hey, we're the UFC. A lot of guys, because of their brand power, want to be involved with the UFC. That's where, you know, supposedly the best of the best are. That's where you get to test yourself against what's supposedly the best of the best. And then you get in there, and, you know, then you want to cry and complain about money. Well, I mean, the reality of it is you want to get paid more, you might have a better opportunity somewhere else getting paid more, depending on what level you're at and who you are. So there's a lot of different things that have to every situation is different and unique. You understand what I'm saying to you? And that's the thing that a lot of guys don't get. That's the problem with this sport. You can't just take a cookie cutter and say, here's what it is. I'm hoping that one day we can maybe get something negotiated for the fighters as a whole, and there's some sort of collective bargaining where, the fighters' voice is heard in a lot of these negotiations and stuff. But for the most part, what's good for John Jones is not good for Bruce Leroy. What's good for a Chris Weidman is not good for an Eddie Gordon, for example. You understand? Or a Lyoto Machida, and that's where it gets a little tricky.
So how
you got to ask those guys at the very top of the food chain to give up a bunch for the guys at the very bottom.
You got a guy like Nate Diaz. He wanted his deal redone. How often does that happen? Or do you need to be John Jones to get your deal reworked if you had 3 or 4 fights left?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think you have to be. I think you have to be somebody in position to be able to ask for it. You can't just jump up and say, I'm not doing this anymore, because the UFC doesn't really need a lot of guys. Do they need a Ronda Rousey? Yes. A John Jones? Yes. Anderson? Yes. A Brock Lesnar? Yes. A CM Punk? Yes. I think a lot of these guys, they're going to need them in some way, some fashion, to keep their pay-per-view business good and strong and their star power, amongst the casuals to beat it. You follow me? So a guy like Nate, who we all love, hardcores love him. But the reality of it is you're not selling pay-per-views with Nate. You're not really moving the needle per se. I mean, let me stop. He's a guy that people watch and they'll see and they'll talk about, and they get the media, hyped up and riled up. But there was a difference between Nate and Nick. Nick was obviously more of he has more star power. So it was a lot easier for Nick to just sit out and wait. And then, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to fight Anderson. And that's why they make those type of deals. There's certain guys that can do stuff like that and others can't. And it just all comes down to leverage. I mean, there's boxers out there who can sit there and say, look, I'm not fighting. I'm going to look at Floyd and Manny. I mean, Floyd could say and do whatever he wants. The other fighters can't do that. You understand where I'm coming from? And it's just the way it goes. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. It may not be fair, but that's just the way it is. I got fighters on my roster that sometimes things get put to them that's just not necessarily fair, and they really don't have a choice. You know what I mean? Because their other option is to maybe get cut, and then they'll be somewhere else, and there's just nothing for them at that point. Whereas there's other guys on my roster who will say no and say, don't feel that, don't like that, don't want that, and things get adjusted and changed for them. But that's in everything. That's in every single sport.
Right.
Tom Brady doesn't get treated the same way as a defensive lineman, a second or third round defensive lineman, or their first round pick. Chandler Jones is a first round pick. John's brother. They treat Tom Brady different than they do Chandler Jones, and Chandler's a fucking star. You know where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So the reality of it is that it's not the world that we live in, and it's just the way it is when it comes to athletics.
Now, I got a couple things for you. I'll get you out of here. Thanks for the time. The guys who are in the top tier for that Reebok, or they have, I don't know if I understand this completely. A guy like John Jones, does he have a Reebok deal outside of the UFC Reebok deal, or is it a deal within the UFC Reebok deal, if that makes any sense?
Well, we're working on the deal outside of the deal with different companies. We're not really allowed to talk about what's going on and what we have yet, so just stay tuned. In a couple of weeks, we're going to announce a shoe and clothing deal for John, and it would be something completely separate than whatever is going on inside the octagon.
But it's possible, though, he would be required to wear Reebok in the cage, but outside the cage, he could.
Everyone is required. Everybody from now on is required to wear Reebok in the cage. It's how it is in every other sport. See, this is the one thing I want everybody to understand. For years, everybody said they wanted MMA to be like NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball. Okay, and now you guys get this one part when it comes to uniform. What I don't understand is why everybody's all up in arms about it. Until we see the numbers, you really can't say much about it. This is a good thing for us. It's going to make it look more uniform. It's going to make it look cleaner, nicer, better, and this is an opportunity to really improve the look of MMA. Now, my gripe with the whole thing is our voices as a group, as a team, as the fighters themselves wasn't necessary. They just went and negotiated the deal, and then supposedly all the money is going to be given back to the fighters. Well, what if you come find out one day? Like, what if Ben Henderson was to find out that he's getting paid the same as guys ranked 3 spots above him or 4 spots above him that he's beating, or 3 spots below him that he's only making like $2 grand less? You understand? There are some issues there. But again, I think the system is something that will get worked out as time goes on. I think they'll have to put something out there, and then the fighters will say something, and then they'll go back and forth. So that's the only issue with the whole thing. But you understand where I'm coming from? The reality of it is that nobody's going to be allowed to wear anything but Reebok in the octagon. It's the same thing in the NFL. Everybody has to wear Nike. But there's guys, like look, Peyton Manning last year was sponsored by Reebok. So he wore Reebok cleats and covered up the Reebok logo. You understand someone coming from, and this is how it works. Now, it's the same thing with LeBron. LeBron is a Powerade athlete. You understand? So when he's on the sidelines, but they have Gatorade that the league is sponsored by. So he has to drink Powerade in a Gatorade cup or Powerade, you know what I mean, in a Gatorade bottle. Or you understand what I'm trying to? You understand what I'm saying to you? Like you can't be seen drinking Powerade on the sideline, and that's LeBron James, probably the most powerful, athlete in all the sports.
You brought up something previous about Ben Henderson maybe being ranked 7th. I don't know off the top of my head, but I think another thing that needs to be put in there about the sponsorships and what tier you're in is your name recognition. Maybe Ben's lost a couple fights.
I agree. I think it's bullshit that a guy like Ben gets dropped the numbers. First of all, the media ranking should have no part in this thing anyway. I don't think the media members that are doing this now are the ones who should be doing it. That I'm going to tell you right off the bat. I don't think that there's going to, I don't think it's an ethics thing because ever since the media rankings came out before, I haven't even spoken to the media in like a year and change realistically. So I haven't really dealt with a lot of the voting members, or I've never asked anybody to rank anybody. So I don't think that would really go on if other managers are doing that. And then, more power to them, whatever. But this media rankings thing to me is kind of crazy. Ben Henderson to me is still one of the top 5 lightweights in the sport. He's going to go down as one of the best ever. He has the record tied with BJ Penn for the most title defenses. Should Anthony Pettis be getting paid more than Ben Henderson today? In all his, absolutely, I think so. I think Anthony Pettis is the champ. He deserves to get paid. But then after that, you call him Cowboy shouldn't get paid? No. Does that mean Ben should get paid less? I don't think so. But should Ben get paid more than a Miles Jury? Should Ben get paid more than most guys in the top 5 that don't have the same, analytics as him? I think so. Yeah. You're going to tell me that those Anjos who beat Ben have bigger name quality and name recognition than Ben Henderson? No. You follow me? And if you're a sponsor and endorser, who do you choose? Dos Anjos from Brazil or Ben Henderson that's an American? You get where I'm coming from? And so if you had to choose, and that's a perfect example I guess I could give you. Khabib Nurmagomedov, Russian guy, great, phenomenal fighter. Love him. Right? I think he's awesome. Number 1 guy in the world right now, number 1 contender. So if you're Reebok and you have to choose a guy to be the face of your company, and I gave you Ben Henderson or Khabib, those are your only 2 options. Who do you pick? Well, be Ben Henderson, right?
Ben Henderson, yeah.
So then understand. But in this setup, Ben Henderson would get paid less than a Khabib, and that's where I'm trying to tell you that I agree with you that name value, name recognition, being a champion, former champion, things of that nature should take into effect. But again, this is us speculating. We're jumping the gun. I don't know what it's going to look like. You don't really know what this system is going to be of. It could be the greatest thing since sliced bread because there's some facts in this thing that is pretty good. Number 1, you have all your stuff done. You no longer have to worry about shorts and banners and all sort of crap. So that's stuff. Second thing is that you now get paid within 10 days. So you no longer have to wait and chase a sponsor down for a measly $500. This frees up the time for your managers instead of to sit around and have to do all this crazy shit to go out there now and really work deals and try to get real deals done. And that to me is very important.
Makes sense. 2 quick ones before I let you go. Give us a quick update on Carlos Condit when he's coming back and your general thoughts about CM Punk.
Carlos Condit should be back probably end of February, March, I would say. So he's on pace to come back. My thoughts on CM Punk. I like CM Punk. I like CM Punk a lot as a fan of WWE. I met CM Punk. He's cool. He had a lot of shit to say about John when John got the DUI. So that's why, I tweeted some shit out and John tweeted some stuff out. And, we found it interesting that the UFC would go down this route. From a business standpoint, I kind of like the idea of CM Punk being in the UFC because this is going to allow the casuals and maybe fans, guys out there who aren't fans of the UFC, to come and look. I think it's important to get something that attracts people to the sport. If CM Punk is that guy, then great. If he's not, then this was the biggest mistake ever. I'm happy for him. I think it's awesome. I think he has enough name value. I don't know if any fighter has more followers on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram than CM Punk. You know what I mean? So he's definitely a big star. He's got a huge following. And it's going to be interesting to see who they match him up with and, who he fights right off the bat. Because this is not a sport that you can just come in there and do it like that. You follow me? But one thing about him, the guy works hard, he trains hard, and I think that he's somebody that, can come in and maybe win a fight or two. But, I'm happy for him. I'm happy he got an opportunity. I'm happy he gets a shot. Will it work out? I don't know. I doubt it, to be honest with you. But the first 2 or 3 fights might bring a lot of his fans over. And if it does that, then hope that you're on his card because that card will probably do very well. And there'll be some new fans created. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be a manager trying to get his top guy on the same card as CM Punk's debut fight.
They might have to headline on CM Punk. CM Punk may have to headline, bro.
Yeah.
I don't see how CM Punk doesn't headline the card. I can't imagine John Jones being the main event and CM Punk being like a co-main event. I don't know how that would work. You know what I mean? I don't know how much they pay him. I gotta assume it's up there, but that'd be a card that I think would do great numbers, but it'd cost them a lot. You know what I mean? So it just depends.
Absolutely. All right. Now,
it'll probably be CM Punk and Ronda. You know what I mean? It'll probably be CM Punk main event, Ronda co-main.
Well, all right, Malki. I appreciate the time, man, and the insight from the most well-known and best. I'll give you that manager or agent in the game, and now going to the NFL. So good luck with that new venture, and hope to talk to you soon, man.
All right, cool. Thanks, brother.
Later. Be good.
Appreciate it. All right, bye, buddy.
Welcome back to the FRB Show. We got another special guest. He is a 4-time NCAA finalist, a 2-time national champion, 2-time Hodge Trophy winner, an Olympian, the best damn welterweight in the world. And if you don't believe him, just ask him, Ben Askren. What's going on, Mike?
Man, not much. I'm just sitting out here watching the Packers game. They're kicking butt and taking names like usual. So, gotta say it's a good night.
Good. So tell me, on Saturday, Lawler, Johnny Hendricks too. Did they get the scoring right? How did you score it?
I will tell you honestly, Anthony won his fight. His corner. We went backstage. I said, congratulations, Anthony. And I headed for the airport because I had a red-eye flight. I thought we were going to we're expanding our original wrestling academy in Wisconsin, and I thought I needed to be back. And then actually I didn't, but I already had the red-eye book, so I just stuck with it. So I got to say, I honestly did not watch that fight. I will tell you, following my Twitter feed, I sure thought Johnny Hendricks won the fight, following my Twitter feed.
Yeah, I saw a lot of – I think I saw MMAdecisions.com had a poll of media members, and maybe like 56% thought that Hendricks actually won. Or it's possible I read it wrong, and it was 56%, Lawler won. I can't remember. I didn't actually get to see the fight either. I was taking.
Where were you? Drinking beers at the Luxor?
I was actually down at Twin Peaks, and
wow.
Down by Planet Hollywood. So I didn't get to see it either because people were bothering me about another guy, and I got a message. I'll tell you off air who I got this from. Was very upset about some of your comments about professional wrestling and CM Punk.
Yeah, I mean, that's okay. I've never been afraid to ruffle a few feathers here and there, and, my comments usually tend to make someone a little bit upset, so that's all right.
Yeah, you have this talent of getting under people's skin, and you're very good at it, and obviously you're under Johnny Hendricks' skin, and another guy is Dana White.
Yeah. Definitely under his skin for sure.
Now, I see a lot saying, "Oh, you haven't beaten this guy or you haven't fought this guy." I don't think people understand it. It's a personal vendetta why you don't fight there. Is that fair?
And when it comes down to people want to discredit my record, but they always forget when. I steal people's souls, front row Brian. When I fought Dan Hornbuckle, he was ranked number 12 in the world. When I fought Jay Haran, he was ranked number 15. And Lima, I guess I didn't quite steal his soul because he's still pretty damn good afterwards. But he was ranked number 16 when I fought him. So a lot of these guys were ranked fairly highly in the world when I fought them. And a lot of these guys I fought when I was a baby in mixed martial arts. I mean, I won the Bellator title 18 months after I started fighting. So. I think a lot of people easy to discredit, and Dana, obviously, he's just been proving the fool with the CM Punk signing because his main reason for not signing me was I didn't have enough experience, which is, at this point, laughable.
You see, I don't really understand it because, I had talked to people, behind the scenes and stuff, and they said they just don't like that guy's attitude. He's like, basically, it's like, who does he think he is talking about George St. Pierre? This is, when you were still under contract with Bellator. Yeah. And did you ever get that sense, or have you had people tell you that?
I mean, I get that vibe, but honestly, the biggest thing I think in the UFC thing, for me, what I came up with that I was coming from Bellator and Bjorn rubbed people the wrong way, the way he talked about me that was the biggest thing that I found. And obviously I came at the wrong time because, Hector got a big paycheck because they thought they were going to steal him away, and then Eddie was still kind of fought over. And then when I was coming up, that was kind of when Bellator was really gaining some momentum, really gaining some credibility, and that's what I got out of it.
Yeah. I was like, from what I heard, they were upset that you were going after, accusations about performance-enhancing drugs. And, I'm like, well, Tim Kennedy's talking about them every day. He still has a job. But it just seemed that things that you said just seemed to really get to them. Whereas if somebody else said it, they'd say, oh, they're being funny, or, they're like the Irish fella the only man in America who tweets about having two 50-year-old best friends 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess, a few other people say it, but I don't think a lot of people go to the extent that I go to it. That's just kind of my personality. I've never been afraid to say what I feel or what I think or what the truth is, for that matter. So I kind of have been more vocal to people. But at the end of the day, one man shouldn't hold a personal vendetta, because when the company's motto is, we are the best fighters in the world, and when it's obvious that they don't at this point, that kind of starts to hurt the company. And that's kind of how I felt about this CM Punk thing. And I understand the monetary value in the short term, but when it kind of takes away from your company's core values, I think that hurts credibility a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up CM Punk, because he lives only about 90 miles from Duke's gym, where you've made your home all these years. And from the interviews I've heard him mention Duke in almost every one of them multiple times. So I think you might actually have a new teammate there.
Yeah, and I've heard that rumor too, that he's going to probably come up here and train. It's a smart move. I mean, at this point, we're one of the hottest gyms in America. Anthony has retained his title. We got Rick Glenn this weekend fighting for World Series of Fighting title. And obviously, a lot of people, after seeing what I tweet, they said, well, why? Obviously I have something against this guy, but I don't have anything against the guy. The guy CM Punk, he's taking it as opportunities and making the best of it. It was more the organization that made that decision was, in my opinion, making silly decisions. So
Phil Brooks, a.k.a. CM Punk, walks in the gym. There's not going to be an issue there. You'll welcome him, and
I help coach him, I'll train him, whatever. I mean, I don't have anything against the guy. I don't see. My statement was to the UFC, not to CM Punk, unless he takes umbrage to what I said. But there's not really much you can say. He's a 0-0 MMA fighter who's 36 years old and has no real combat sports background.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like he definitely has respect for you. In one of the interviews with Ariel, or Megan Olivier, I forget which one, but he specifically mentioned you.
Cool, yeah. So hopefully I get new teammates. Should be always like new guys to train with.
For sure. So CM Punk, also like related to the fights on Saturday. You of course were there to support your teammate Anthony Pettis, who just was spectacular. So just talk a little bit about Anthony Pettis, and can he beat Nurmagomedov?
Oh, 100%. Nurmagomedov, obviously, he has good wrestling, but I don't think he's as well-rounded as Gil was. I mean, Gil's a very underrated striker. He's got great jiu-jitsu and uses his wrestling really well. So obviously, Nurmagomedov has good wrestling, but I don't think his jiu-jitsu or his striking is at the level of Gil's was. Anthony's just he's so dynamic, and he does so much damage with his strike. It's going to be really hard for anyone to stop him at this point because his wrestling is just obviously, people always brought up the Clay Guida match, and obviously he's improved leaps and bounds since then, and he's only getting better and better all the time.
Yeah, I think if there's a guy that's going to beat Pettis soon, it would be Nurmagomedov. He seems to be able to ragdoll guys.
Yeah, he's obviously got the strong wrestling, which we're going to get right back to work on that. And then, the only one in that division that really poses any interest to me past that, because I think, Nate Diaz, I think that's an easy win for Anthony. And a few of those other guys is Rafael Dos Anjos, who fights this week. And I think that's, he's kind of a dark horse. He's a tough guy, takes a good shot. So that's a fight we're going to prepare for also.
Getting back to the Hendricks Lawler situation, where do you see that going? You think they'll go to a rubber match, or they put in Rory McDonald in there?
Yeah, I think it'll probably come down to how their pay-per-view sales were this weekend. If they were good, they'll probably go with the rubber match. If they were terrible, it probably tells them no one really cares that much, and they'll move on to the next contender. But when Dana talks about moving the needle, I don't really know that there's anyone up there, Rory or otherwise, that can move the needle too much. Maybe Nick Diaz, possibly. People still have a lot of interest in him. But other than that, barring a George St. Pierre comeback, I don't think you have too many really, really super exciting matches.
Yeah, I wonder about GSP. I mean, it's so much head trauma, like some crazy stat, like he's gotten hit more times in the last 4 fights than he did all the previous fights combined.
Really?
And
wow.
You could hear him even talk about it. And it's in his head. He's really concerned about the head trauma. And shit, I don't blame him. It's his brain.
Well, yeah, that's why I make a habit of not getting hit at all.
Right. Right. Yeah. I always get a kick out of, if you don't like or appreciate your style of taking people down and stomping a mud hole, then they can stop it. You're not in there against guys, who are defenseless. Just stop it.
One grown man versus another grown man. And the best part about it is I tell them exactly what I'm going to do. So it's not like they have no idea what's coming. I just tell them I'm going to step in the cage, I'm going to come over there, I'm going to grab you, I'm going to throw you on the ground, and I'm going to beat you senseless. And they know what's coming.
And they can't do anything about it. But
they can't do anything about it.
You're under contract with ONE FC, who's doing a lot of great things in Europe and now in the Middle East and
Asia. They're mostly in Asia.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Asia, and then I've had Dubai, sure. But so I think when you signed with them, from what I read, it was a 2-year contract for 6 fights, and the type of money was pretty much in line with what a top guy in the UFC would make. Is that?
Yeah, I'm definitely getting taken care of really well, treated really well, and really it's a great upcoming organization. Obviously, they do business a little different because they're out of Asia, and just the Asian way of doing stuff is a little bit different. But man, they're really coming up. It's really going to be exciting to see, especially they're going to China here in 10 days. Once that pops, it's really going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. The cards. I think M1 Global just did a card in Beijing at I think it's called the MasterCard Arena. It was where they played the basketball games in the 08 Olympics. I can't. Where was the wrestling when you were in the Olympics?
Oh man, I can't even remember what it was called. They all had funny, National Center for something or other. I can't remember exactly what it was called.
Sure. Yeah. So I saw you on Twitter. You wanted to fight in February in Jakarta. Is that still your goal?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that happen. I think I've heard. I think I read the February 14 shows in Jakarta. So hopefully Matt Hume, he's the matchmaker. Hopefully he'll hook me up on that show. That's why at this point, I'm 30 years old. I want to fight as often as possible, healthy, ready to rumble.
Yeah, I mean the issue with those fights. I mean, some of the guys that you fought, I haven't heard of. I'm sure you probably haven't heard of them. And I don't mean to criticize your record because I think you'd beat the top guys in the world. But like I said, you're 30 years old, and I know you're one of the very few guys who are actually clean. You do this and you dominate without any help, no gear, no special stuff, and maybe that means that your prime will be shorter than some of the guys out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not afraid to tell anybody. I think I'm past my physical prime. That being said, I still am moderately newer to the sport of folk style oh my gosh, I'm brain dead. The sport of mixed martial arts. So I'm still learning stuff, and I'm still getting better, even though maybe I'm past my physical prime.
Yeah, it makes sense. Now with the ONE FC deal, 2 years, 6 fight minimum, I think it was. Is there some language in there that would allow you to leave for the UFC if they were to come to their senses?
No, it's just a regular contract, but I'm going to go over there. I'm going to beat everyone up, and at the end of the day, I'll still only be 31 years old. So I can hold. Who knows? Maybe ONE FC is going to grow it an enormous amount by that point, and they're going to be bringing guys over to challenge me for the real world title that I have. But we'll see at that point.
Right. Now, was it difficult, this weekend? Because I know you were very respectful for your teammate, and I was like, maybe he's being a little too respectful. Pettis, he's getting enough attention, but you really didn't want to talk about yourself. The focus was on Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, this is Anthony's first fight in 15 months. He's making his comeback, and how I felt was, if I do something that's going to distract him from having his peak performance, then I'm not a good teammate and a good coach. So I wanted to have no distractions for Anthony this weekend. I wanted to cause no trouble. So this weekend was all about Anthony, and obviously, causing trouble or not, I think he's probably going to get the job done because he's just that damn good. But we made it easy, got the job done, and everybody's happy.
Now, the other question, Bellator's doing some great things right now. Since Scott Coker took over, it's just a totally different product. And they got truckloads of money. There's talk they're going to offer $multi-million a fight to Brock Lesnar, and that's pretty much fact coming from high level people at Spike. It's going to happen. Now, if they come after this ONE FC and they want to talk to you, would that be something you'd consider if the money's right, or you've already climbed that mountain and it doesn't interest you?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, the MMA world and life in general is crazy. So I don't think so, but I'll never say never with stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good way to leave it, because they might have this monster offer, and it's not very often that the best guy in the weight division becomes a free agent, because usually with the UFC that you become like a restricted free agent, or that matching stuff that you had to go through with Bellator, and it just seems to be a messy game.
That's the not fun part about me. Not fun part about MMA for me. I mean, the best thing about wrestling to me is you show up to the Nationals, you win the Nationals, you go to the World, you win that, you're the champ, right? It's nice and easy and simple, and that's what I like about wrestling. And MMA, there's all these contracts and everything else, and it gets confusing and political and all those things that I don't really like.
Right. Now, you mentioned earlier about how you take your role as a coach. You coach, the best guys in the world like Pettis, and you coach little kids at your wrestling academy that you have with your brother Max.
Yeah.
Is coaching wrestling something you see in your future? Maybe a Division I head coach after you're done with fighting.
Yeah, I always thought I was going to just stay in the college wrestling world. But like I said, you never say never. Life is crazy. It's crazy. It leads you in funny places. And now I totally even left the college wrestling world. I don't do anything with them right now. But at this point, I don't know. I really, really enjoy coaching the kids. It's fun. You get to see them grow up. You get to see them mature. You get to be an important part of their sports life, maturing and growing up to an adult. So I don't know what I'm going to do at this point, whether I'm going to go back to college coaching or, I might just stay and coach the pro practice at Ruka Sport and do my academies at night and do that. So that would be really nice to me too. So I got a lot of good options, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, you mentioned that you have a lot of options, and like this, you were even considering retiring from MMA if before this ONE FC deal came across your table.
Yeah, I even went into Duke's office and had the meeting to talk about what happens if I retired. Am I staying on as a coach? What am I going to do? I had that meeting with him because I was really thinking about it, and I just. I made that decision that it wasn't my time to retire yet, and I know I got a lot of good fights left in me, but retirement's never too far away from my mind because I've been in this game a long time, that being wrestling and MMA, and been training seriously year-round for the last 16 years. So at some point here in the future, I'll hang up the old gloves and just start coaching.
So with the UFC, you had that meeting with Dana Lorenzo, and if they would have made just any kind of decent offer that wasn't insulting, you probably would have accepted it.
Yeah, at that point, I probably would have, honestly, because at that point, even right now, I'm doing decent financially for myself. I'm not going to tell you I'm a millionaire or anything, but I've been smart enough with the money I've made, and I've made some good investments in starting some businesses, that it wasn't really about money at that point. At that point, it was about proving that I was the best in the world, and that's what it was about. I think you're right on that one.
Yeah, because it was one of those weird things where it was just like, I think Dana said that you're just not his type of guy. And
that was a little while down the road. The first thing he said was, I'm not good enough. Well, I know, right?
I think that was window dressing so that all the sheeple that follow him on Twitter and praise him and just agree with everything he says. I think that was for them. But I think the people that are pretty keen observers of this sport know that it was a personal vendetta to keep you out of the UFC, and Lorenzo went along with it. Usually he's there to put him in line, but he just, for whatever reason, said, no, do whatever you want, Dana.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess obviously I'm not in his head, so I don't have the final answer, but that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. It's just like, well, if you think the guy is an asshole and you can't work with him, what better angle, to sell the fans is this brash, Olympic wrestler, undefeated, reigning world champion. It writes itself. He's telling off the boss. It reminds me of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon. When I'm only a couple of years older than you, so when we were in high school.
Oh, I remember 100%. That was about when I stopped watching WWE. But that was, that's exactly. You're hitting the nail on the head. I don't need to say any more.
Hey, I know you got to get back to your football game, and I really appreciate you taking the time. Just leave us with your senior year and one of my buddies and your former teammate Tyler, he told me about this. The All-Star Classic, that you were going to go down in weight to Johnny Hendricks. I think he was at 165 pounds. You were at 174, and you were supposed to do this dream match at the All-Star Classic, which for the non-wrestling fans is this big kickoff for the season where the top guys and all your dream matches happen at the National Wrestling Coaches Association All-Star Classic. So what happened? Because you versus Hendricks didn't happen.
Yeah, so, number one, I love challenges, obviously. Number two, I sure as shit don't like Johnny Hendricks. So I said, hey, I'm going to drop some weight. I'm going to wrestle Johnny at the All-Star Classic. And I did it. I lost weight. I fat tested for the right weight. That's something I do in wrestling. And I called up the All-Star Committee and said, listen, I don't want to wrestle at 174. I already beat all them dudes. I want to wrestle Johnny Hendricks at 165. And they said, okay, let's think about it or whatever. And then they came back and said, oh, we can't do it. It's too late or something lame. And I said, well, fine. I'm not wrestling. You guys aren't going to give me what I want. I'm not wrestling the same guy I always wrestle. And long story short, down the road, someone came to tell me that they actually asked Johnny to do the match. And they tried to make it happen, but he didn't want to do it. So I've known since that day, which was about 7 years ago, that Johnny Hendricks is scared to face me in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, I don't just why not wrestle you, man? It's the fans wanted to see it. He was, he kind of had the reputation as the guy that people didn't like. Now he's kind of seen as this harmless country boy, but in college, it was much different. He was kind of a bad guy.
Yeah. He was. And you know what? It's kind of hard to describe. You just got to be around him long enough and you get it.
So
I'm serious about that. Just be around him long enough and you'll get it.
So this is not Ben Askren trying to run an angle on people. You just really don't like this guy.
Straight up, I do not like Johnny Hendricks. So it makes it easy to play that part because I don't got to act at all.
Well, yeah, that's the best type of angle when it's a shoot. So everything works out. You win. You beat up all those guys in ONE FC, and UFC offers you a decent contract. That first fight, do you want to fight for whoever's got that belt, or do you want to settle this thing with Johnny Hendricks, or do you want friendship?
Yeah. You know what? My wife asked me that question the other day, and I thought it was a good one. And I said, when Johnny was a champ, I get to go beat his ass and get the belt, so it really kills two birds with one stone, right? And now, obviously, I can't kill both those birds with one stone. So you know what? I don't want Johnny Hendricks so much. I said, I'll fight him even if he doesn't have the belt. So, I guess I have to beat him up, but then go for whoever has the belt at that point in time.
Yeah. And then the GSP one, man, that would probably be maybe your biggest fight ever because, he's got so many fans and he's been the UFC's biggest draw, even bigger than Brock Lesnar, shockingly, because the Canadian fans just adore him so much, and with good reason. He's been a great champion. And
yeah, I picked a fight with Rory this weekend too. So, trying to get that Canadian angle maybe somewhere down the road if GSP doesn't come back.
What's this is the last thing. I'll let you get back to your football game. But what's his? What do you think his deal is? Is he really a weirdo, or is this all an elaborate work, or is it all fake?
I go with weirdo. I would for sure.
Yeah, I could only imagine you talking about him and all the pre-fight shenanigans. But I'll be following you. Your next fight in Jakarta or wherever it's at, and continued success, man, because you're making it look real easy over there. I don't think you've broken a sweat in that ONE FC cage.
Well, I'm not. I'm going to tell you, I'm getting pretty good at this MMA thing, and I don't know if I'm going to break a sweat in any cage.
All right, let's leave it with that. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for taking the time, man.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Be good.
Bye.
All right, welcome to the FRB Show. I got a special guest for you, known as American Fedor, or the Insane One, someone who's hasn't fought in a few years but is making a lot of noise right now, Justin McCully, all the way from Hawaii. What's up, brother?
Actually, that's on the FRB Show, even though it's my first time. So really excited to be here, really excited to talk about the subject. Obviously, it's been big news for, a few months now since Stephen Bonner and myself went in and took over live TV and pulled the biggest stunt known to date in mixed martial arts history. So it's been nothing but greatness ever since. We put somebody on blast that needed to be put on blast, and I think we got him on the ropes, and he's running scared and trying to duck and hide for cover, but we ain't gonna let that happen.
So take me back in September. You and Bonner on national TV. You confront Tito. How do you? I assume you're friends with Bonner. I think you might share a manager or did in the past. Wayne, I'm not sure on that 100%. But take us through how this became reality.
It was kind of a weird thing. I hadn't heard from Tito for a while. We had some business that was unfinished, and he just didn't really want to recognize. And then, we had some negotiations on the Force 3 fight, and he basically, he told me off, dude, at the end, and I was like, really, bro, after all we've been through, and basically it was just like negotiating on what it was going to take to get me up to Big Bear to live up there for, 6 weeks and 8 weeks, whatever it was, and leave my family and my career and everything that I have going on to support him one more time and help him, in a quest for, extending his career and lifting himself, and so, unfortunately, that reaction right there made me question our friendship, and not hearing from him after, a while had gone by and my phone wasn't ringing. I didn't get any Christmas cards. I was like, all right, maybe he's just pricking out on me, and, big leaguing like he normally does. And so I just took it for face value, and I got an opportunity to work with Stephen, and had a really good chance at beating Tito. And Stephen's a tough guy. He's never going to make excuses for himself. But, he had a broken toe in camp. He had a partially torn shoulder. A week before the fight, they put him on a heart monitor. They didn't clear Stephen before the fight until Tuesday, the week of the fight. And so, there's plenty of things that didn't allow Bonner to show up 100% that night. He still had a split decision. So it was, a pretty close fight. I think Tito placed some takedowns at some good points and good times, but taking us back to our stunt and our event, it was just one of those things where we looked at an opportunity. We're going to be in this situation anyways. How do we make it as big as we can? How do we put Tito on his heels, play some psychological head games, and make him understand that it's something bigger than just you and Stephen fighting. There's a lot that's going behind the scenes that nobody knows about, and Stephen was willing to put him on blast and pull his card, and it was beautiful. I mean, we walked into live television and took over, and it was an electric experience. I mean, doing something that's scripted and that you're being told to do, is one thing. When it pops off without a hitch and then you get a big reaction out of it, that's really cool. But to go in there, to roll the dice and to gamble, to put together a little game plan and to have us execute flawlessly on live TV, it was incredible. And it's an experience, obviously Stephen and myself will carry, and Tito will carry it with him forever too, we'll carry it with us forever. And it'll always be a historical moment and a game changer for the sport of MMA.
Yeah, I was up in Connecticut at the UFC event. Overeem was fighting Ben Rothwell, so I didn't get an opportunity to see it live, but I checked my phone and Twitter was just going nuts about this big confrontation, and I finally got to see it, and I was just like, well, this is great. I mean, here's Bonner confronting Tito, who doesn't look like he's in on it doesn't look like an angle that he's been smartened up about. But
It was so funny. You know, Brian, it was classic because here's Tito pacing back and forth, and he's doing his Huntington Beach bad boy shtick. You know, he's grinding his jaw. He's trying to look as tough as he can. And I'm sitting under this mask, and I'm laughing so hard inside. I'm like dying. I'm like, you don't even know what's about to happen to you, dude. And you think you're up here, and it's all about you again. But guess what, buddy? You're about to get the carpet pulled out from under your feet. And that's exactly what happened. And his reaction, he says, "Oh, I just laughed. It was no big deal." Yeah, right. He just laughed. It looked like somebody pissed in his Cheerios and then threw them on him. You know what I mean? It was hilarious, dude. We couldn't have planned it any better, and it couldn't have gone off any better. And what we heard was, you know, a lot of people after UFC started leaving and coming over to Bellator, and then, you know, all the news and you know, all the reporters and everybody was talking about it so much that, you know, the journalists that were there wanted to come over and see what was going on, and late in the wee hours of the night, we had people coming up to us, you know, at Foxwoods and greeting us and you know, at the Mohegan Sun there and greeting us and trying to, you know, talk to us and see what went on and get the overview of the whole event. And we were glad to sit there and explain what had happened and tell everybody about it. And it became quickly the biggest buzz in the industry. So it was just phenomenal to put that together, to have the foresight to do something like that, and then to have it, you know, come off without a hitch.
well, here's the big question: why 2 masks? That was my first. When I saw it, I was like, why 2?
Well, the first one you could see through, you know, so he could the first one he would have been able to see me. He would have been like, and that was the thing. I was sitting in the crowd. I walk into the building, and people are looking at me and they're going, "Who is this guy?" You know, I mean, we walked into the casino like that. From the airport, got in the limo, and I'm like, "All right, it's time." Somebody was in the lobby. We didn't want him to understand that I was there yet, and didn't want him to know. And so we held it as tight as we could, you know, all the way up into the hotel room, all the way back down backstage, all the way out to the arena, and then sitting in the arena for a good hour, sweating bullets under the 2 masks in a full suit, just holding my ground, going, "No way, I'm giving this one up. You know, we're gonna do this." And so eventually, you know, Coker and the boys, "All right, Stefan, you're up. It's your time." And even, you know, Zach Light and Rich Cho and Sherwood and all these guys are all hanging out, and they're looking at us going, "What the F is going on with these guys? I mean, I can't believe, you know, what we're seeing. Like, Stefan, what is this?" You know, and he's like, just wait, you're going to see, you know. And so eventually, we got up there, and you pull the one mask off, and guess what? You don't know who it is yet. So now you pull the second mask off, and there's a bigger reveal. So it was like, Stefan got to reveal me, then I got to reveal me too. And I didn't think about the 2 masks until I was out shopping for him the week of, and thinking like, okay, how can we really, really mess with him? Okay, what if he pulls one off and then there's still one there, and then he's going to be like, what the heck's going on? You know, so it's kind of a just one of those timing things that worked out perfect. And so the 2 masks was just to make sure nobody saw who I was and nobody compromised my identity.
Sure. And so you were working the gimmick. You sold it. Now, do you have a professional wrestling background?
I sure do. I wrestled with New Japan Pro Wrestling, Antonio Inoki's group, for years. Me and Joni Lauer were tag team partners over there, and I was a 6-time tag team champion for the UPW, Ultimate Pro Wrestling. We're kind of like a feeder league to the WWE. We had John Cena and Samoa Joe and RVD and all kinds of guys come through our league and wrestle. And me and myself and my tag team partner, the Hardcore Kid, who became Jesus eventually in WWE, were going to go that route. So I wanted to go to Japan and fight for Pancreas, and, you know, kind of following like Ken Shamrock's footsteps and all those guys who, you know, Boss Rutan and Maury Smith and, you know, everybody who had gone over there, Guy Metzger and all the early guys, Frank Shamrock, and then on to rings. And these are leagues that were designed around professional wrestling rules that were actually real fights. So they're punches to the body, slaps to the face, all throws and submissions are legal, and you get a couple rope escapes to keep it interesting. And so I decided to go that route. I had a small bout with ECW before it was sold to WWE, and then decided to go full Japan wrestling. Fortunately, was hired by Inoki to run the New Japan dojo in Santa Monica, California, for him for a few years. Was one of his bodyguards in Tokyo, and yeah, so professional wrestling's always been a part of my life. I think it's beautiful, and I think there's a great parallel between professional wrestling and mixed martial arts that needs to be embraced a little bit more.
Yeah, well, there's a certain segment of the MMA group of fans who think the wrestling, it's all, well, I guess it is scripted, but they think that it's like insulting their intelligence to run angles and stuff. And I often bring up to them, well, we're talking about Tito. How about Tito versus Shamrock? That whole feud that was straight out of professional wrestling. How about the Gracies versus Sakuraba program? That's straight out of pro wrestling. SAP straight out of pro wrestling. These are all some of the biggest money angles.
You bring up amazing points. I mean, half of Pride was all pro wrestling, and so the angles that were there, the guys that were fighting there, and that was what was drawing the Japanese crowds there. I mean, before Pride came along, K1 was, the second toughest league out there next to New Japan Pro Wrestling, which was Inoki's league, which had all the top dog shooters in the country. The Sakurabas, the Takadas, the Masakatsu Funaki, the Suzuki's, all these guys that were amazing. And so you look at it like that, and you think, well, a lot of the athletes that we'd love to watch in Pride, and that gave Pride its value by putting their names on the line, were professional wrestlers. So you can be a layman and not really know what's going on behind the scenes and not have done your homework and understand what the transition was from professional wrestling back to shooting. But if you go back far enough, professional wrestling was shooting. Professional wrestling was mixed martial arts. It just got to be to the point there where it was going into stalemate matches. Matches were lasting for an hour, 2 hours in the big top, and they had to figure out a way to work it, make it interesting for the crowd. So out comes, these high spots and professional wrestling, these different characters, things that were larger than life that would make people want to come and believe in these people more than they would believe in themselves. So it's all smoke and mirrors at the end of the day when you're talking about promotions and fights and things like that. Now getting into the ring and performing, that's a different deal. So if you can do both, now you're something special, and so I truly feel that us that understand that, how to promote and sell a fight and use our minds to create these cool angles and put mystery, on something like, who's the masked man? What's going on here? And it draws people in. And if we just sat here and we watched fighting on mute, people would, they'd watch for a long time, and the hardcore fans would always be there, but we wouldn't draw any extra fans. And what we're doing now is we're bringing in extra fans. If you look at the ratings between, professional wrestling and mixed martial arts, professional wrestling is still superior in the ratings department. And part of that is because they have superior storylines. And so Bellator opening up the door to that, and letting us do that night. Not to say that they should start doing that a lot or anything, but I think just that, that one marquee moment where we dipped into the grab bag, so to speak, was beautiful. And I think it worked very successfully. Bringing 2 million eyeballs to the table was something that, up until that point was unheard of.
Yeah, I was going to say, though, you make a good point about these storylines or angles. And I think we've gotten to a point here where the heat is enough to where Rich Chow needs to make Tito versus Justin McCully on Spike or on pay-per-view, whatever wherever the platform will be. And is that a fight that you think is realistic? You haven't fought in 3 years. That's
a billion percent. A billion percent. Me and Tito know each other better than anybody. We put more hours in the gym against each other than anybody. We've been training partners longer, than most people, have careers. So I know him well. He knows me well. We know the ins and outs, and our styles complement each other. When we got into our sparring matches, people should have sold tickets. I mean, we were having some barn burners in the gym that, people never got to see. So it'd be an amazing fight for the fans. It'd be an amazing fight in Orange County. I think we could sell out a big arena in Orange County and make great business, and that going into this, it wasn't like we're saying, hey, let's make a pro wrestling angle and try to make this pro wrestling. We didn't even think about it. We never even the word pro wrestling never entered our mind in the gimmick. We just said, hey, let's go out there and mess with his head. Let's go do something funny. If you pull a mask off me and he understands that I'm in your corner now, not in his corner any longer, the guy that he depended on to help him get victories, then he's gonna be shaken up a little bit. And granted, he was. So, and now he's got to be pissed. He's got to look at me and say, you mother effer, I can't believe you did that to me and sold me out like that. But hey, buddy, you sold me out first, and I got business with you, and it's not going to stop until we get that case. Troll accounts today, hit up my Twitter, talk all the smack you want, try to maliciously slander me, create libel, disregard me and my contributions to the sport of mixed martial arts, and all day long, Tito, but that's not going to stop me. That's not going to take away what me and you have between each other when it comes to the paycheck that was never paid. You and me got business, bro. So the only way to handle it is man to man. Let's get into that cage. Let's throw the hands, little chingazos, and at the end of it, we'll see what's up. We'll see who the better man is. The problem is he knows he'll get his ass kicked, and that's why he's ducking like a little Sally. He's running out of the back door going, no, I don't, I'm too big for that. Oh, no, yeah, because you're scared. He's scared. He knows it's coming. He knows he's got an ass whooping on the menu, and he better order it up real soon, or it's going to get worse and worse. This is one that he's one of the best, you know, in the world. He's a legend. I give him that. I'll always give him that. I helped him gain that status, and I helped him keep that status, and I truly believe in his ability, and I think he's an amazing fighter and all that kind of stuff. But what he did was bullshit, you know? So at the end of the day, it's like, hey, bro, be a man, and let's do it. That's how men settle their business. If you want to be a little sour and run around and avoid the situation, I think people are going to lose a lot of respect for him. I think his fans will lose a lot of respect for him. I mean, he let a guy deface and devalue him and jump in the ring and punk him on national TV, and he's not going to step up and take the challenge. And then he does things like throw water on Stefan after he beat him. He got fined $2,500. Hey, I'm climbing over the cage telling him, you know, F that, buddy. Come on, me and you. And you know, the commission's going, get off the cage, Justin, or you're going to get fined. I'm like, okay, no problem, you know. So that last thing I want to do is mess with the commission or lose a license or get a fine or anything like that. But this guy's got no regard for his opponents. He's got no regard for his training partners. He loves the nut hangers, the cherry swingers that hang around him just so they could be part of the Tito show. It's all fake. It's all now, it's all going to dissolve right before his eyes. And I'm going to be the man that puts him on his back and ground and pounds him in front of everybody.
Now, the last time that you were part of what you call the Tito show, was that UFC 84 against Machida?
Yes, it was. And you know, it was that show right there where it all flipped on him. You know, he had not taken care of me, not done his deal. He started to, you know, spend all his money on porn stars and big parties, and that's something I didn't want to be a part of. And so yeah, I walked away.
So that led to his departure from the UFC, or you know, his he didn't go anywhere, but he sat out for maybe like 18 months, and then he came back, I think, against Forrest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And,
yep.
Okay.
That was actually a great fight. You know, that was a great, him and Machida, I thought was a beautiful matchup. You know, Machida, obviously, he ran a little bit there, but he played a smart game versus Tito, and obviously won the decision and went on to win the belt and do some amazing things there. Tito would have won that fight if he would have listened and he would have done the right thing. It's just, you know, he's his own worst enemy at the end of the day. And you saw it in his, you know, in what, a 10, 11 fight span, he had like 3 victories. And that's why, because he you know, he hurt the people that were helping him the most.
Now, when things really went sour is the Matt Hamill fight. Am I understanding that right? UFC 121.
No. That's all BS. That's how he says it, but that's not the real deal. At the Matt Hamill fight, I was really knee deep, busy in my own thing, on my daughters and my own life, you know. And he's come up here, you know. Okay, I can, but you know, are you gonna break me off? Yeah, dude, I always do. Well, no, you always don't, or I wouldn't be asking you that question. You know what I mean? Like, the question would have never came out of my mind if I was completely happy with how you're compensating me. I'd have been like, hell yeah, I'm coming up there. Let's go. So, you know, obviously he contradicts himself there. And where the real problem lied was with the Forrest 3 fight. He asked me what it would take to get me up there. I said, this is it. And he said, go for it. And, you know, I was like, this is just negotiations. You don't got to get weird, you know. And basically, you know, what I was asking him for was very, very modest in comparison to what he was making. I mean, we're talking peanuts. And so for him to have that kind of reaction, that's not a reaction a friend has to another friend. You know, that was very vulgar and crass. And to come at me like that was really, really hurtful, you know. So at the end of the day, and he put me in a really bad position financially. You know, I spent months and months, if not years, helping this guy gain what he needed in his career. When I have fights, he disappear. Oh, Jenna says I can only come for like 2 weeks, dude. 2 weeks, dude. I just spent 8 weeks with you getting you ready, and you're going to give me 2 weeks, bro? And he would show up to corner. You know, he'd only show up to corner to get on TV, you know, so he could put punishment on TV. It wasn't like he was showing up to help his fighters win or anything like that. He was showing up for the advertisement and the marketing for his own game and his company. So he really didn't put the care back into the guys that were helping him as the guys did when they were helping him. So it's all just conflicting and contradicting, and everything he says is wrong, you know. And even trying to blame it on the Matt Hamill situation, no, dude, it wasn't that. It was the Forest 3 fight that it finally fell apart. So everything he said is lies. You know, it's just crazy.
So you mentioned Jenna. When she came into the picture, maybe I think it might have been middle of 2006 when he was still embroiled with that Shamrock feud. Was that the beginning of a downward spiral for him?
100%. You know, I mean, I don't want to say anything, you know, too bad about anybody, but when certain people get together, it's just not good. You know, you just like, you can see the writing on the wall, and their relationship's going to go south. And that one was just tumultuous and turbulent. And I mean, they had some really probably awesome chemistry, you know, behind the doors, but some really, really ugly chemistry also. And it was very apparent, and it was just getting worse. It was like a growing cancer, that relationship. And obviously, both of their careers were hurt because of it. I'd say more his than hers, but you know, it's just the way it is. It seemed like she came in at a time where he was on top, and when they broke out, he was not on top any longer. And all of us were there. We had put together an amazing team. Team Punishment was reigning supreme again. You know, he went up and fought for the belt again, and all of us were doing great. Our careers were doing great, and he decided to sell it all out and, you know, let her do what she does, and you know, manipulate the scene. And next thing you know, he bought it hook, line, and sinker and sold us all out. You know, and that's his onus. You know, he's got to take that and run with that ball and live with that forever. But unfortunately, so do we.
I never understood why these guys who have some level of fame would want to get real serious with a porn star that has, you know, just a really bad background. I mean, I'm not going to say that she didn't have a great upbringing, to put it lightly, right? I mean, why would somebody make that decision?
Did it all for the nookie. You know, I mean, it's pretty much what it comes down to at the end of the day. You know, it feels good in the pocket, and you're like, wow, this is great. I love it. You know what I mean? And I would imagine, you know, that had something to do with it. But it was just, and sometimes, you know, Tito didn't have a great upbringing himself, and I think they both understood each other a lot in that respect, and kind of hidden one another for a while there. But, you know, I think it became apparent to him after a while that, hey, I am hiding here, and I'm not living any longer, and I need to go out and be me and live again. And I think that's what he did, and hats off to him for that. It's just too late for the rest of us, you know. So we bared the burden as much as he did. I think at the end, well, not as much as he did, but, you know, some of it anyhow. And so, you know, I feel bad for him for making those decisions. I really do. Even now, as pissed off as I am at him, and me even wanting to get him in the cage and put a schooling on him, even at that, I still feel like, you know, hey man, you did a bad thing to yourself there, you know, and sorry for you, but you did it to yourself.
So let's just say you guys get in the cage, do some good business, you know, you get paid, Tito gets paid. Do you think that this could be put in the past? Because I've seen him, you know, call you, you were his best friend at one time. Do you think, is it so beyond that it could never be again? Or,
well, you know, that's on him. You know, I didn't do anything wrong to him. I didn't go out of my way to fuck him over. I didn't go out of my way to you know, to put him in a bad position or use him or use his time. Never did any of that to him. So it's on him. You know, he's had plenty of time to make it right. And now we're just in a position where we're running out of time, you know, and it's like, I'm not going to sit here and have that in my life where one of my best friends screwed me over and isn't even making an effort to make it right. I mean, that's when people, you know, throw down. So it's time to throw down. So what's up?
Yeah, it's an interesting fight. I mean, you know, you haven't fought in MMA in 3 years. You're typically a heavyweight. Would you come down to 205, or would there be some kind of catch weight? Or
I'm already dropping. I'm already in the gym. I've been doing my diligence. You know, changed up my diet and been working my ass off to get down to where I need to be and get in that shape. And you know, I mean, 2012, I think, was my last fight a couple years back, and it was a good fight with Justin McCully. He's a tough dude, and I put him away pretty quickly, and as I should have. And And so, you know, I feel like I'm as strong as I'll ever be. I'm as good as I'll ever be. And there's no time like the present to do it. You know, unfortunately, life happens sometimes, though, Front Row Brian. And what happened to me was I came home one day and I found my mom dying on the floor. And so I, like, you know, I kind of held her in my arms while she passed. And so there's a couple years there where I had to go on and like deal with some family stuff and get over it and get over that before I could get back in the cage. I wasn't whole, you know, and so now after a couple years of healing and getting, you know, my mindset back, I'm ready to get back after it. And unfortunately, that guy, you know, man, and there's some other business there, some other things that happened after Mom passed, you know, where he reached out and asked for my help and I helped him out, and then I needed him to return the favor, and he screwed me over again. And so it was like, bro, that's it, it's done. You know, now I want to fight you, dude. Now I want to put hands on you for that. And unfortunately, you know, again, he did it to himself. I would have never felt this way about a friend unless they gave me reason to. So he proved that he wasn't a friend. He proved that he didn't want to be friends. He proved that, unfortunately, the only way to fix this one is to scrap.
Now, have you had conversations with Scott Coker and Rich Chow about signing a contract with Bellator? You know, that would be the first step in making this a reality.
You know, I'm reluctant to speak about that now. We have some things in the works, and you know, I don't want to say anything yet. I don't want to speak prematurely. And again, I don't want to lead on to anything. But you know, hopefully the stars will align and things will work themselves out. It'd be great for Bellator. It'll be great for the sport. It'll be great for, you know, for everybody involved. Not to mention that there'll be an amazing fight for everybody to witness. So. All the way around, it makes sense. You know, it makes sense angle-wise. Obviously, I was coaching Stefan. Stefan fell short. And, you know, I called Tito out and put him on blast and, you know, wore the mask and, you know, did all that kind of stuff. So in his fans' eyes, I sold out. And, okay, I sold him out. Come kick my ass then. You know what I mean? So here it is. It's on the table. I'm ready. I'll be waiting in the cage for you if you want. So anyway, it's got to happen. Let's do it.
Yeah, it is a perfect angle because for whatever reason, Tito's become a huge baby face at this point. And, you know, they're chanting his name like it was 2002 again in San Diego. And I think if you put that in Anaheim, you know, you would be the heel. You'd be, you know, getting the beer thrown on you. And, you know, he would be the hometown hero again. So
yeah, that's cool. That's cool. They can think what they want. You know, I hope they do love Tito. I hope they do want to buy his T-shirts and follow him around and all that kind of stuff, because that makes him look stupid. You know, it's like, I mean, the mixed martial arts fans are the greatest fans in the world. They follow who they like, and once they like you, they love you, and they'll die for you. And I think that's beautiful in our sport. But right now, I'm calling out every Team Punishment fan that doesn't know the true story an idiot. Tito, you're an idiot, and all your T-shirt wearing thugs are idiots too. I'll slap you around, and they can all watch.
Wow. So who's representing you? I don't know if I got this right, but were you represented by Wayne Harriman, who also has a very close allegiance to Tito and credited with getting him back in the UFC?
Well, that's correct. We know that Wayne Harriman definitely got Tito back in the UFC and, you know, did an amazing thing for him and got him a great contract and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, he's one of the greatest managers in the sport, if you ask me. And so, you know, absolutely. You know, we talk on a regular basis, and he's a great dude. And so, you know, it is what it is. But again, I don't want to say too much or talk too much now. I just, you know, hopefully things will work themselves out, and we'll get to conduct this business like we should be.
Yeah. For those of you who aren't up with, you know, some of the inner workings, Wayne Harriman co-manages John Jones, Carlos Condit, Benson Henderson with Malki Kawa, first round management. But the history with Wayne Harriman and Tito Ortiz goes back to the 90s. And Justin probably knows it better than me, but I heard that it was Wayne Harriman who told Tito Ortiz to hire this 20-something-year-old guy who wanted to get in the game, but nobody would give him an opportunity back then, and his name was Dana White.
Nice.
Does that sound about right, or?
You know, that was actually that's a little bit even before my time, but it sounds about correct for the way I heard things. And you know, there's people you know, in the business that many people don't know about that do major things, you know, and Wayne happens to be one of them. And so Dana obviously is an amazing man and did a great thing for the sport and did an even better thing for Tito's career. I mean, it's easy to be the UFC poster boy when you have Dana White as your manager and you have Gordon Biersch as your sponsors, and we know who owns that. So we saw Tito become the poster child very quickly, and it was because of those allegiances and because of the people that were behind him. And unfortunately, you've seen those people turn their back on him because of how he treated them. So there's definitely some heat there, and I would bet my life on it. It's not the fault of all the rest of us who are pointing the finger at him.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, this is you know, a lot of drama, a lot of moving parts here. It's an interesting story, and that's why I'm so interested in it. And I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't know that you were thinking about coming back. I didn't know anything. I really hadn't heard much about you in a couple of years, and then I heard you were in a ring with with a mask on, and I'm just like, what? And then I saw it, and I was just now it's all making sense. And you know, it's a great angle. It was smart of you guys. I know Bonner is a smart guy. I have another buddy who's close to him and you know, pretty famous in the industry, and compares notes with him quite a bit because he's a creative guy. But do you have any a time frame of when you want this fight to happen? Or
well, I mean, I'm sure he's got some healing up to do. I know. I mean, it was. You'd think that Stefan took the brunt of the damage in that last fight, but I'm sure Tito took some too. You know, he's probably got some healing up to do. So hey, whenever you want, dude, I'm there. I mean, you could set it for tomorrow. You could set it for 2 months from now, 6 months from now, a year. I don't care. I just as long as I get my shot at putting my hands on that guy, that's all I care about.
Yeah, well, it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, they have all the footage of you, you know, in the cage with the mask, Tito going crazy. You know, they have all these audio sound bites of you just completely burying the guy. And Tito's, like I said, has become a big baby face now at the end of his career because, you know, let's be serious. There's a lot of great things that Tito did that he really doesn't get credit for as far as getting this sport to where it is today. And, you know, usually it just goes to the Fertittas and Dana, but, you know, like you said, they needed a poster boy in 2002. And you know, you look at a lot of the top fights, the top programs in the history of UFC, and Tito's in a lot of them. You know, he might not have.
You know, I always said that. I always said, and you know, when Tito and I were right together, I kind of felt like we're you know we're the Jedi Knights versus the dark side in a way sometimes, you know, and I didn't think that he was getting his due, and for more money for himself, I always backed him up on that because I truly believed he deserved it. But you look at what they put into making him that poster child, and they deserve it just as equally. You know, did they use him and his abilities and his stuff? Well, sure, but did they also make him something that was huger than life? Yes, they did. And is he still riding that wave? Yes, he is. So they deserve as much credit as he does. But you know, at the end of the day, he got in the cage. He did it. He was the poster child, and rightfully so. You got to give credit where credit's due. Tito Ortiz is a major reason why mixed martial arts is as cool and as popular as it is today, and I'll never say anything different. I'll always give him that credit for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's I agree with you there, and I like that you're giving him his due there. But hey, you've been a piece of shit to me otherwise, and you know, let's just settle it. Let's just both make some money and draw a lot of viewers, and you know, after we handle our business in the cage, then you know, whatever happens, happens.
That's it. You know, I mean, and his guys have been coming out. Why don't you handle it in-house? Well, I tried to handle it in-house. I was still trying to handle it in-house. And until I got to a position where I had an opportunity to put it in your face on national TV, well, guess what, homie? It happened. So now what? Now everybody knows what happened. Everybody knows what you did, and now it's time to pay the piper. You got to jump in the cage and scrap. That's it. If you run, you lost. If you don't take it, you lost. So if he wants to look like a little bitch, then he can. You know what I mean? But when you do something to somebody and they call you out, it's time to scrap. period, right? So, like I said, I'll always give him his due. I'll always consider him a legend, and as great as he was, I was riding along with him. Dude, we were doing it together. I was sitting on the cage, on the apron, coaching him, yelling what he should be hearing in the middle of the round, so he could do the right thing. That Vitor Belfort fight, in my mind, was the pivotal fight in his career, and in the comeback anyway, after he'd been dismissed from the UFC, so to speak. So, and me being a Carlson Gracie, Alan Goes black belt and training, had trained with Vitor Belfort many times in the past at that point, gave us a lot of insight on that fight. And I truly believe that I was the most valuable guy in the camp on that fight. And that fight, I think put him back on the pedestal he needed to be on. So, he owes some shit, and he knows that. And when he's not giving it, I'm going to get it. I'm going to come take it. So it's time for me to come take it.
Yeah. If he don't think you're a credible opponent, he can just show up and beat you up, and and get an easy payday. Then if he doesn't think that it's good business,
like you said, I'm coming off a long layoff. I've never been down to that weight. Shit, it should be an easy fight for him, right? So what are you scared of, homie? If there's no reason to be scared, why are you running? Where are you going? Let's do this.
Yeah.
And who else out there makes sense? I don't think anybody else on the Bellator roster, on the UFC roster, in this whole entire world, on this planet right now, there is no other angle that makes sense besides me and Tito jumping in that cage.
Yeah, the only other thing that I could come up with is Mo Lawal, and Tito has no interest in fighting Mo Lawal because I think he knows he would just get taken down by Mo. But to me, there's only two options. There's a Bonner rematch, which the public is not hot on, and then there's you versus Tito, which the gears are already in motion. So like all this, they've done all this groundwork. And then, you're a pro wrestling guy. Why do all the groundwork and then don't get the payoff at the end?
Period. You're looking at it. Everybody knows 2 million people tuned in because of the stunt that me and Stephan Bonner pulled. Tito wasn't getting the floor. People say, "Oh, it's Tito." Everybody was tuned in to watch Tito. Really? How many people tuned in to watch him and Shlemenko? Not that many, I guarantee it. And so you're talking about apples and oranges. You're talking about two different worlds. When McCully comes to town, people are going to tune in. When me and Tito get in that cage, I guarantee there's going to be more than 2 million people watching it, and that's something special, and that's something that's an industry-building fight, and I think it's something that's fresh and great for everything that's moving forward in the business today. So I'm sticking with it. There's no reason for him not to take this fight. And the only reason why he wouldn't take this fight if he's scared, if he's shaking, But if he's scared and shaking, I'll iron his skirt for him and he can wear it out tonight.
Well, Justin, thanks for taking some time out of your day. This has, I love professional wrestling and professional wrestling being integrated into a shoot environment. So this is that's why I reached out to you. It's like I got to talk to this guy, because this is a really interesting angle. And if in any way, any small minor way I can kind of push this agenda forward to say, hey guys, this is the fight, because we know the fight promoters at the end of the day, they listen to their customer. And if the fans keep demanding this and say, hey, who is this guy that keeps calling them out? Let's do this fight. I guarantee you Rich and Scott will do it. So I just wanted to thank you for coming on, and if any advice that I have for you, not that you need it, but don't back down, man. Just you got to keep after.
That would never ever happen. Never happen for Brian. I got to say, it's been a true pleasure and an honor. I've obviously seen you and followed you and wondered how the hell did you have all this inside information for the past few years. Obviously on MMAjunkie, they loved you and sing your praises, and so. To be on the phone with you today was an amazing experience, and I appreciate that. And let's keep the campaign going. As you said, Scott Cooker and Rich Show, they're amazing minds in the sport. They know how to put the right fight together, and I'm sure they understand that this is the one.
And tell us.
So once again, man, thanks so much for having me on, and I look forward to it.
And tell us what's your Twitter for everybody?
Twitter at Justin McCully, JUSTIN MCCULLY, little C, big C.
There it is. All right, Justin. Thanks, man. Be good.
Right on, my man. Thanks, Brian.
All right. It's entertainment. That's what I do. So please excuse some of my inexperience with this, and just bear with me, and I guarantee I'll make it worth your time. So with that, enjoy the show. And this next guest is sort of a controversial figure in the business, but he does manage the greatest fighter in the world today, John Jones. His name is Malki Kawa. What's going on, Malki?
No, nothing, buddy. When you make these introductions, please make them correct. I don't manage the greatest fighter of our era today. He's the greatest fighter of all time.
Of all time?
Better than anybody we've ever seen. So just make sure when you introduce me and introduce him, you just do it correctly from now on.
Now, I thought you were going to say, Brian, introduce me as the advocate for the reigning, defending UFC light heavyweight champion. But you're still not stealing Heyman's gimmick, or what?
Well, Heyman took that gimmick from me a long time ago, and he has a better platform as the WWE.
Right. So, Malki, for some of the people, I mean, because I
passed, and therefore I can't take it along with it.
Yeah. For some of the people, I kind of know your background a little bit, but tell everybody about how first round management and how you got into this game.
Oh, man. You know what? I started in football first a while ago, back in 2005. And I had a real estate company at the time, a mortgage company, where we did real estate and titles and mortgage. And we had a couple different offices across the state of Florida, and a bunch of brokers that worked for me, and we did very, very well. And like most people in 07 that were in real estate or that had their money in real estate, when the markets came crashing down and when everything came crashing down, that it was kind of tough to stay in it. But while I had that and had that business going, I decided to get into sports because I got asked to get into it by certain football players. And I started in football, and when 07 came around, everything just started kind of coming apart. Me and my kid's mom broke up. The markets came crashing down, so the business went away. And my dad got diagnosed with stomach cancer towards the end of 07. So to kind of relieve stress and to, just to work out and try to, stay in shape and all that type of stuff, I ended up going to an American top team gym where Conan Silvera was coaching at. But it wasn't Coconut Creek where all the other guys were at. It was like a satellite gym. And I ran into Conan, who was actually my coach. He trained me in jiu-jitsu way back like in 1998, 99. Anyway, like I'd only done it for a couple months. I've never really done jiu-jitsu for longer than a few months at a time. And I seen him, and we reconnected. It was kind of weird because I remembered him, and he barely remembered me, but he did. And he was like, "So, what do you do now?" And I told him that I was a sports agent. And
the following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Remember this, when you're the greatest fighter in the world today, they got a name for you. They don't call you a great fighter, they call you Chael Sonnen and beat me, if you can.
And after tonight, none of you in this ring will ever again!
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, kid stealing, wheeling dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun, and I'm having a hard time holding these alligators down. Woo!
I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
And I have my cold beer. You have your cold beer? If not, you are fucking jabroni. Wash it down with 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, a shot of whiskey.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Welcome to the second episode of the FRB Show. I am, of course, Front Row Brian, internet legend, talked about on SportsCenter, the worldwide leader in sports. And I was well ahead of the curve with this CM Punk news. I told you 2 weeks ago CM Punk was coming to the UFC, and they said, FRB, are you crazy? And I said, yeah, I am a little crazy, but I'm always right. So we have a great show, some really great guests, like Malki Kawa, the manager for John Jones, the best fighter that has ever walked in an MMA ring or cage or whatever fighting surface we're talking about. So Malki lends his insight into the inner business workings of the UFC. We talk a little bit about his prized client, of course. Then we also have the best damn welterweight in the world, Ben Askren, and he tells us about all kinds of stuff, but mostly the bald fat guy, Dana White, and also Justin McCully, a.k.a. American Fedor. He wants to fight with Tito Ortiz, and he makes his case, and it's a pretty convincing case. So thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks for listening last week to that marathon of a show that I really should have caught up. But, this is a new gig for FRB. So I'm learning and just trying to piece it all together as I go. But I guarantee you it's always going to be entertaining. When I'm running the show,
he's like, hey, I have this kid I want you to meet. He's a great fighter, and he's someone that you should talk to and help out because he needs it, And I had no clue really about the sport. I knew about Chuck and Randy and Tito pretty much. I watched the very first few UFCs, and then after that, I really kind of just concentrated on football. And from there, I went up to Coconut Creek with Conan, and he introduced me to a kid by the name of Thiago Alves. And Thiago Alves happened to become my very first client. And from there, we just slowly built first-round management into an MMA powerhouse. And by doing that, I also kind of, got away from football. I needed to concentrate on one, and I chose MMA. And, looking back now, it's probably the best decision I made. But coincidentally, now this year I got relicensed in football, and I'm going back into the NFL as well.
Interesting. So are you going to have clients for the upcoming NFL draft?
I hope so. That's what the plan is.
Oh, yeah, because it's too early to have them officially. They're probably
correct. You got to reach them, and you're right. You have to sign. I can't sign anybody until after they're done playing. So
tell us a little bit, because I know you have a very unique relationship with John Jones, which is it's a little bit rare to see it. It's refreshing because I've seen some other big stars. They have blow-ups with their manager. They go to William Morris Endeavor, and then they never talk to the guy that brought them to the dance, so to speak. And you seem to have this brother-like relationship with John Jones. So take us back a little bit. How did you get into the John Jones business, and what's the relationship like with John?
Well, John Jones, I first watched him fight UFC 100. I watched him fight live. And I thought to myself, what is the matchup? But this kid had Stephan Bonner. He fought Stephan Bonner. And I looked and I thought to myself that this was, a little bit of a fast, it was too fast, I think, at the time to give him Stephan Bonner as an opponent. In my mind at that time. I didn't know who John Jones was. This was his second fight in the UFC. His first fight was nice, but it wasn't like, it wasn't this like outstanding John Jones yet. His skills were not yet honed or fine-tuned, you know what I mean? But I knew that he was kind of like the future. You look at his size, you look at his weight, you look at his speed, his strength, and you look at also like where he was at the time, like who he was training with, and you say to yourself, man, what would this guy do if he was with a Greg Jackson or an American Top Team at the time, or one of these other big, like an AKA, or one of these other, academies that have had like world champs and trade these type of guys. What would we have with this guy? I mean, physically, he was just above everything I'd ever seen in the sport. And then it just coincidentally, dude, he was at an appearance that I had scheduled for Thiago Alves, and him and Thiago started talking, and he gave Thiago his number, and he took my number from Thiago, and he called me, and he happened to start listening into representing him because of the fact that he liked the way I had taken care of Thiago. Thiago had nothing but good things to say, and I obviously went and signed him, and yeah, our relationship is very good, and it's one that's been built over the course of time. I mean, there's things I've done for John that I don't think anyone else has. I don't think any manager has the relationship or the ability to do the things that I've done for John that they would have done for other guys. Let me not say the ability, but you know what I mean? Like, I think I've just done things for him throughout the course of time that a lot of agents I don't think would have done. I hear stories about how some other guys, excuse me, work with their guys, and I think I'm a little bit more hands-on, and my relationship with him is just different. It just is. You know, he requires more. He's the biggest star in the sport, and it just requires more. So I think at the end of the day, it's like it's one of those things where.
So what do you think about these guys?
Will come through. I get a lot of stuff done. There's a lot of things going on.
Sure. So what do you think about some of these guys that will go and sign with William Morris Endeavor? And I mean, John has a similar agency. Is it William Morris or Creative or CAA?
No, it's William Morris. But I mean, tell me who you're referencing, though. Just like let me know what you mean by when you say these guys. Who are these guys?
Well, like Weidman has somebody with William Morris. Ronda Rousey has Brad Slater at William Morris. And I don't know who's doing her fight contracts.
Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing. So William Morris doesn't do the fight contract because they represent the UFC, so it's a conflict of interest. So technically they're not supposed to do the contract. But you know, I know Weidman has a manager. I know Weidman does his marketing and his TV stuff through William Morris. I know that's how we have it set up with John as well. We work together. Like me and William Morris work together. Me, Brad Slater, we work together on his movie stuff. Brad gets all the movie things together, and then obviously me and John go through them. And then, you know, the whole marketing team there, me and them are in constant contact almost daily on different opportunities and different things. I mean, I work really well with William Morris. I enjoy them a lot. Call them anytime I need something. They're pretty much able to open doors for me that maybe I wouldn't be able to do by myself, or, you know, a shortcut to get to where I got to get to without having to do it all by myself. That's the beauty of William Morris. And that's why, you know, it worked out. But I think that guys will quickly find that William Morris is a mega agency with thousands and thousands of clients, and it's not something where you can just be like, okay, I'm going to go get signed by William Morris. It doesn't work that way. And, you know, they're not just sitting there looking at deals for John and Ronda. It's The Rock and Denzel Washington and this guy and that guy and all these different people. So having me around, you know, obviously what I did is, you know, I get with John and we go through what he wants, what he's looking for, what he needs. And you know, the way I look at it is just, we just have to get to a certain point. You know, it's like it's like if you get in a car, it's like you're carpooling, right? You're trying to get from one part of the country to the other. Doesn't matter how you get there. Doesn't matter who actually ends up driving it or who gets it there. As long as you get there, that's my point. And that's where William Morris has been awesome with, because whether they get the deal or I get the deal, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? We work together on a lot of different things, and you know what I mean? I head up all of John's stuff. I get all, you know, the majority of his deals. And William Morris has been phenomenal in aiding me in that. And there's some deals that they get on their own, and it's just an awesome relationship. So, but you know, you go look at the creative artist situation. It should be the same way. But I think they try to take everything from the fighter. They want the fight contract, and they want this and they want that. So, you know, the issue here is that people don't understand how to work the UFC and the politics in the UFC and how it actually works. So where these agencies are used to dealing with a unionized sport, you know, they come to ours and it's completely different, and they end up failing because of it. And, you know, all these guys think they have these connections that, oh, you know, he's a great fighter, we're going to get him a sponsorship. And then they quickly find out that those relationships they had at whatever company are willing to do deals in basketball or football or baseball or hockey or NASCAR because it's all accepted. And fighting is still one of those sports where there needs to be a lot more teaching and explaining. It's not accepted yet as much as the other ones. And therefore, a lot of those guys in these big firms realize really quickly that unless they're John Jones or Ronda Rousey, there isn't going to be a deal for anyone else. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, everybody's very misinformed about the sport. The athletes, I think, sometimes are misinformed about the sport. A lot of the agents out there misinformed about the sport. And it's just one of those things where there still needs to be a lot more education across the board for everyone.
Sure. It makes a lot of sense. You talk about guys with connections, and, you know, maybe CAA or William Morris can't get it done, which is amazing to me. But there was a video clip on, I don't know if it was on UFC.com, and it was there was a gentleman by the name of Wayne Harriman, and it said John Jones's manager, and it was kind of confusing to people because they were like, well, what happened to Malki? But of course, you are his manager. But Could you explain the relationship with Wayne Harriman and how he helps facilitate some of the deals for first-round management?
Well, listen, here's the thing. I mean, the reality of it is it's like this, right? If my brother is the guy that deals well with Nike, then my brother will go and deal with Nike. If I'm the one that deals with, Beats by Dr. Dre, then I'll go deal with Beats by Dr. Dre. If Wayne Harriman deals well with Dana Lorenzo, then he will. I mean, I have in my company, there's about 10 or 15 people that work for me. So the reality of it is that when everybody was like, oh, what happened to Malki? Again, I don't have to be the guy that's always in the forefront. But if you go back and review and you look at the second embedded film video, if you remember, the first one, supposedly we're doing this deal with John Jones' manager and Wayne showed up. And then, that was it. The second time around, if you remember, I was there and so was John. And we walked in there, and then we came out, and the deal was finally done. Everything was all good to go. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't, it's like it doesn't. I don't care for the. When I first started, everything was about being on Twitter and being hyped up and in everyone's face and whole nine and all that. And at this point now, I don't do that anymore. So I don't care. So the whole world was like, oh, Wayne Harriman, this and that and the other. At the end of the day, every single deal, everything that happens when it comes to John Jones, you know what I mean? I pretty much am the one that sets it up, numbers wise, deal wise. Going after it wise, timing wise, all that stuff. There isn't really much that I'm not involved in or not getting done. Now, who might be the guy